Chapter 1570 The New Power of 8 King Kong. Chapter 1570 The New Power of 8 King Kong. As soon as the voice fell, the 8 bodies moved. A link of power instantly appeared on their bodies, just like how the 8 great elders used their authentic artifacts' power to link together. It was the same for 8 King Kong. This was a summoning of heavenly tribulation. Every person in the 8 King Kong had different attributed strength, so their cultivation would also be different. The fusion of their powers would produce a strong resonance. This resonance was able to shake the world, and was also known as the God's suffering force. Rumble. 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 Explosions were heard in the sky one after another. It was incomparably powerful. Many of the disciples in the Hell City knew about the 8 King Kong under Long Fei and immediately shouted, "Master, it's Long Fei's subordinate. It's the 8 King Kong. Their powers are very special. Everyone's strength is different." Not waiting for them to finish, the great elder disdainfully sneered, and said, "Even Long Fei is not his opponent, so what if he's a small fry? This is a boundary of the holy tactical method, it's useless no matter who comes." The holy tactical method was only one of their strengths, it was still far from being their full strength. They did not even put the 8 King Kong in their eyes, and the 8 of them revealed a look of contempt, and laughed. "Long Fei, if you can't do it, how can the trash under you do it? Ha ha ha. Hurry up, look at your woman, she's almost stripped naked, ha ha ha." The 8 elders began to laugh delightedly. It was also at this time. A deep vortex appeared in the sky as the clouds within hundreds of thousands of kilometers were swept up, layer after layer, until they were as deep as 9 layers. In the center of the vortex, it was like the eyes of the heavens. The eye was staring straight at the holy tactical method on the Hell City. At this moment, Li Yuanba roared out, "Let them have a taste of what it feels like to be crushed." Boom. Buzz. The energy of the 8 people surged, entering the vortex. The energy absorbed by the eye of the vortex suddenly changed, turning into a fiery red color. In that instant, boom. It was like a beam of light from outer space striking down. Was this divine retribution? Very strong. It was 10 times stronger than the power they released last time. In just over a year's time, they were all much stronger, and each of them was different. Rumble. The light beam struck the holy tactical method. The great clan elder laughed coldly, and said, "It's useless. The stronger you are, the stronger the antiphasic force is." Ha ha ha. Just as he said. The stronger the attack, the stronger the backlash. How could the holy tactical method be so easily broken? When the light beam struck the array boundary, the array formation did not even budge an inch. "Can't I?" Long Fei frowned, he held the golden cudgel tightly. At this moment, the 8 great elders and the disciples of the Hell City were all laughing maniacally. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. If you don't even move, then I thought your 8 King Kong was too strong. Too weak, simply 8 pieces of trash, ha ha ha. Taste the feeling of being crushed. Is this the legendary taste of being crushed? I can't laugh anymore. Can you be any more funny? Long Fei, you're a piece of trash, and your subordinate is a piece of trash, ha ha ha. He didn't move at all. How could this be? It was obvious that the formation was very strong, but there was no change at all. There were no signs of it breaking. The 8 elders were about to die from laughter. He was as pleased as he could be. This caused Long Fei to feel even more unhappy. He was moved and said, "Yuanba, you guys." Just as Long Fei was about to use the golden cudgel's energy, a strange scene occurred. The energy that was being devoured by the holy tactical method was completely absorbed by them. Moreover, they were not injured at all, and most importantly, the god power that they had absorbed had gone through a second evolution and exploded out of their bodies. Ahat laughed coldly, "Now is just the beginning, mocking us. You're laughing at our boss. You are not qualified." Instantly, the 8 people shouted in unison, "Break for me." Rumble. The power released by the heaven's eyes is no longer fiery red, but the power of the god power absorbed from the holy tactical method, using your power to crush you. The 8 King Kong's transformation this time was completely different. They were different. Boom. The golden light scattered in all directions, as heavy as a thunderbolt. The moment it hit the holy tactical method, the formation instantly cracked, unable to withstand it for even half a second. Hualala! Countless cracks appeared in an instant. It had completely collapsed. Moreover, at this moment, the powerful force pierced through the formation and struck down. The 8 elders' faces paled and they were instantly sent flying backwards. The 8 authentic artifacts under the formation, along with the divine spark formed by the formation, were all turned into powder. Boom! 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 The sound of the explosion spread out for millions of kilometers, causing the entire Hell City to be in shock. All the disciples were scared pale. Holy tactical method. Instant kill, break. It was also at this moment. 8 King Kong descended like a war god from the sky. Buzz, buzz, buzz. They all landed on the ground, their bodies burning, their auras filled with rage. The 8 of them looked at the 8 Grand Elders and bellowed, "Are you the only ones bullying my boss? Come. I'll kill you." Li Yuanbar's aura exploded. Boom. The giant spirit axe exploded out of thin air. The sarcophagus on its back shook, and all the muscles on its body moved. It bulged, and its entire body was filled with the pure energy of an explosion. The giant spirit axe pointed at the great clan elder and shouted, "Old thing, give me your life." The other 7 King Kong were the same. Their hearts were filled with incomparable rage. They were not happy that Long Fei had been forced to such a state. However, without waiting for them to make a move, Long Fei's silhouette moved, landing down, and said faintly, "All of you stop." 8 King Kong was stunned. Li Yuanbar said, "Boss, give these fellows to us." Chen Tianfei shouted, "We will definitely teach him how to conduct himself. Bullying our boss. Have you asked us?" Thinking about how Long Fei was almost driven mad, they felt extremely displeased, and wished that they could stomp the 8 great clan elders to death. Long Fei grinned coldly, and said, "They are mine." Immediately, Long Fei was furious. His eyes turned sinister as he looked at the shivering Nangong Yang, his heart bleeding. Bring it on. 100 layers of energy, explode. Chapter 1571, Beating You Can't Get Up. Chapter 1571, Beating You Can't Get Up. Explode for me, no matter what. He started with enlargement stroke. The main artifact S that had 100 levels of energy had originally wanted to leave it for Zhong Wushuang, but right now, he couldn't tolerate it anymore. He had already been unable to endure it when the second level of the holy tactical method was unable to be broken, but it just so happened that the 8 King Kong appeared, causing Long Fei to pause slightly. The current him. Heavily injured. It was simply impossible to win against the 8 divine-level powerhouse S. Furthermore, compared to Zhong Tianlong and the others, who were slightly stronger, Long Fei could feel it. Right now, what Long Fei wanted to do was to blow everything away. The idea S controlled the golden cudgel and Long Fei's body seemed to be connected to it. The energy aura on the golden cudgel also seemed to be burning on his body. The power of his entire body was ignited. Long Fei's gaze swept across them as he coldly said, "All 8 of you, attack together." Even if the holy tactical method was broken by the 8 King Kong, even if the 8 King Kong released an extremely powerful force, they would still look down on Long Fei and the others the same way. Because they were powerhouse S of the divine level. In the Chaos Realm, they were the peak, the rulers. It was a god. No one could fight against a god. The great clan elder laughed sinisterly. "Long Fei, do you think breaking a holy tactical method is so impressive? Who do you think you are? In our eyes, you guys are nothing more than ants, do you understand?" Long Fei's eyes darkened, the chi in his body suddenly exploded. "I understand your grandpa. Sure." It instantly appeared in front of the great elder. Too fast. It was so fast that even the Grand Elder was unable to react in time. Long Fei slapped down with his palm, it was unstoppable, and his power was extremely dense, sure. With a single breath, space began to crack apart. Pa. Yi Zichen slapped the Great Elder hard in the face. The Great Elder fell to the ground instantly, while half of his old face was red and swollen, and his eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. Long Fei shouted, "Do you understand? Without waiting for the great clan elder to get up, Long Fei's body sank. His speed was so fast that they could not even see him clearly, and he slapped him again. Do you understand now? Pa. The great elder's face smashed into the ground once again, his head bleeding profusely. The 2 slaps caused stars to appear in his eyes, causing him to be completely stupefied. Big brother! Big brother! The other 7 people shouted in unison. The great clan elder clenched his fists tightly, his teeth chattering loudly. He laid on the ground, laughing sinisterly. Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Long Fei! You asked for it. Ah! Boom! Great clan elder roared, and a burst of energy exploded from his body. Following that, he formed a hand seal with one hand, and bellowed, "Spiritual warriors, come out." Buzz! A spirit body was released from his body. It was as if the seal had been released. Thick streams of divine power began to emanate out from his body. They were extremely dense, far denser than the divine power released by the 8 elders. Moreover, it was a lot stronger than the spiritual warriors that exploded from Zhong Tianlong's body. These spiritual warriors were the imprisoned souls of the war god of the 9 secret borders. This spirit body had the strength of a 2-star divine spark, completely different from Zhong Tianlong's 1-star spiritual warriors back then. This power surpassed the 1-star godhood's great elder. Fitted soul spirit body technique, open it for me, Buzz. A 2-star spiritual warriors forced himself to merge with his body. In that instant, the aura on the great clan elder's body drastically changed, becoming completely different. Long Fei's heart shivered. It's another divine-level spiritual body. It seems that the 9 secret warrior family has controlled a lot of the fallen god's soul. Is fusing with the spiritual warriors that amazing? In front of your father. You are just a shrimp. Boom. The energy from the golden cudgel exploded once again. The moment the great clan elder completely fused the spiritual warriors into his body, Long Fei did the same. Pa. A crisp sound rang out. The great elder was once again slapped to the ground. He was in incomparable pain, and the 3 consecutive slaps caused him extreme discomfort. This discomfort was not physical discomfort, but the discomfort of being insulted in the heart. When did you ever suffer such an insult? Moreover, or was it in a situation where he had merged with the spiritual warriors? Unhappy. His rage overflowed to the heavens. Clenching his fists tightly, the power from his body burst out crazily as he roared out angrily, "Long Fei, I want you dead." Not waiting for him to explode. Long Fei's eyes opened wide, and in the next moment, his eyes turned into eyes like a monkey's, and he slapped his own eyes again. Die your entire family. Pa. The great elder was once again slapped to the ground. All the power in his body was instantly suppressed, and he could not release even the slightest bit of it. His entire being was like a fool. He didn't understand at all. The spiritual warriors with a 2-star divine spark didn't even have the chance to retaliate in front of Long Fei. How is that possible? Everyone's scalps began to feel numb as they could not believe the truth before their eyes. What was this called? What was this called? Is he crazy? The great elder was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He was so angry that it seemed as if he was going to burn him to death. He roared out loudly, "What are the 7 of you still standing there foolishly for?" Heh! As soon as he finished speaking, Long Fei slapped him again. "Call me your mother, Pa." His face was bruised, and he did not look like a human. His entire body was about to collapse, and it seemed as though Long Fei's slap that fused with his spirit body was going to be blown out. This power. He just wanted to ask, who else could it be? However, was this even the full explosive power of 100 layers of energy? This was just a tiny bit of power, a battle between the strong. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A string of power exploded as a series of loud sounds exploded. The remaining 7 people instantly released spiritual warriors, all of whom were 2-star divine sparks. This greatly exceeded Long Fei's expectations. 9 secret warrior family. How many secrets were hidden? Tartarus. How many of Powerhouse's souls were still inside? Long Fei was too lazy to think about this. Looking at each and every one of them merging with his spiritual warriors, he laughed, the more powerful and explosive it is, the better the experience will be. Bring it on. Ha ha ha. 8 King Kong moved slightly and said, Boss, they wanted to make a move. After all, he was a divine-level powerhouse fused with 8 spiritual warriors. They started to worry. Although they were only divine-level powerhouse of the blend for Godhead, they were absolute peak kings in the Chaos Realm and there was no way for them to fight against them. Could Long Fei do it alone? Long Fei said, I alone am enough. The Great Elder looked at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, you will definitely die today. Not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei fiercely stomped his foot on the Great Clan Elder's face, bent his body, and said coldly, Die? Even if you want to die, you will have to die. And then, the idea detonated. Monkey, show them your true strength. Chapter 1572, Great Sage Chichen. Chapter 1572, Great Sage Chichen buzz. The flickering light from the golden cudgel vanished. Ding. Do you want to activate 100 layers of energy? Yes, sir. Without the slightest hesitation. Ding. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for activating the 100 layers of energy of the main artifact. He has obtained the Great Sage Tactics of the Heavens transformation. Ding. System notification. 3 minutes for Great Sage Tidemark's transformation. The system beep descended. In that instant, Long Fei's body suddenly changed. Transformation? Long Fei was startled. Become a Sun Wukong? So fierce. In the past, he only obtained the power of monkeys of all realms. That power was just one of the Sun Wukong, but directly transforming was different. It was equivalent to possessing all of his strength. Boom. Long Fei instantly turned into a Sun Wukong, his purple gold equipment sparkling, and the golden cudgel in his hands became as agile as a fish entering water. The most important thing was power, strength. Great Sage Tactics of the Heavens, 72 changes. Moreover, what he possessed was not divine strength, but saint force. To a certain extent, saint force was stronger than the god power. What is this? How did it become like this? Boss, aren't you being too cool? Become a monkey? How could it be? Completely stupefied. Even the 8 King Kong was the same. They were a little dazed. They had always known that Long Fei possessed all kinds of special powers. It was the first time they had seen it. Li Yuanbar's face was full of excitement as he said, Mighty, too mighty. Boss, you're too cool. Ha ha ha. The Fat Men Chen was grinning from ear to ear. This looks really cool. That's awesome. Indeed. All of the disciples were flabbergasted. Watching Long Fei turn into Sun Monkey with their mouths agape, they were all shocked. The Sun Wukong's appearance was naturally extremely handsome. Years of dreams. The first time Long Fei read Journey to the West, he had been fantasizing about when he could become the Sun Wukong. At that time, he definitely wouldn't go to the western sky to gather knowledge. Entering the Immortality Peach Garden definitely wouldn't just be picking peaches, but ignoring the 7 fairies. She would definitely go to the Moon Palace to chat with Chang'e about the ideal of life. In short, if he was a Sun Wukong, he would definitely become the king of the 3 realms and be a force pulled by the wind and lightning. This isn't the world in Journey to the West. However, since he had turned into the Sun Wukong, then he must turn the world upside down. Otherwise, he would feel bad for himself and even more so for his dream of being a child. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. A few elders laughed and said, Long Fei, what power is this? To become a monkey, didn't they say that you are a descendant of the dragon race? So you are the descendant of a monkey and an animal? Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. The great elder, who was stepped on the ground by Long Fei, let out a loud shout as well. What did you say you turned into? You just had to turn into an animal, ha ha ha. Long Fei grinned and said, You like to laugh, right? Then let's see if you can still continue laughing. Eat a blow from I, old son. Boom. Long Fei instantly retracted his body, held the golden cudgel tightly in his hands and smashed it towards the great clan elder's head. At this moment, the great clan elder seized this fleeting chance and shouted, You want to kill me? You are not qualified. Boom. He released all his power and instantly dashed out. He had been accumulating his energy to find this chance. As long as he escaped, the 8 of them would be able to join hands and instantly kill Long Fei. You want to leave? You're thinking too much, aren't you? Long Fei sneered. Indeed. If he wanted to leave, the Grand Elder was overthinking it. Long Fei did not hit her with the staff, but his figure disappeared in an instant. Because the Great Elder was able to escape to the heavens by dodging this move, he was very excited. Just you wait, you're going to die soon. However, he wasn't done yet. A person stood in front of him, or to be more accurate, a monkey. It looked at him with a smile. Where do you want to go? Without waiting for the Great Elder to speak, he swung his staff out. Voila! With a loud explosion, space distorted. The golden light hit the Grand Elder's chest and scattered in all directions. Spiritual Warriors was instantly blown out of his body, as if his soul had been beaten out of his body. Phut! Blood spurted out. His body flew out like a remnant thread. Divine! Spiritual Warriors of a 2-star divine spark? Mocking me? Is the 9 secret warrior family that amazing? Now, does it feel good to ask you? The voice resounded in the air, and Long Fei's figure could not even be seen. The great clan elder had not even landed on the ground, when Long Fei swung his staff again. Bam! The great elder's body once again scattered the golden light. Rumble. Save, save, save me. The Grand Elder did not have any leeway to retaliate. He could not even control his own body as he was sent flying. The energy released by the golden cudgel was too strong. The blend for Godhead's divine-level powerhouse was completely trash in front of its power. The 7 of them watched in a daze. His brain could not react at all. Wasn't this monkey's strength too terrifying? Hearing the Great Elder's cry for help, the 7 of them came to their senses. Immediately. Long Fei, attack. Boom, boom. The 7 of them instantly charged forward. The 7 of them were spiritual warriors who had fused with 2-star divine sparks, so blocking them would be like blocking the 7 layers of an iron wall. However, in this instant, rumble. The 7 of them stood together and tried to block Long Fei's path, but before they could even stabilize themselves, they were instantly knocked down by Long Fei. Boom. Shout. Call me again. The great clan elder was sent flying once again. The golden light surrounding his body was no longer as intense as the previous few times, and all of the power in his body had been scattered by Long Fei. Phut! The great clan elder spat out another mouthful of blood, staring at the speed that Long Fei could no longer move at. He roared out, Long Fei, you dare to kill me? The 9 secret warrior family will kill all 18 generations of your ancestors. You dare. Before he finished speaking, Long Fei's sinister expression appeared in front of the great clan elder, and he said with a cold smile, rest assured, I will definitely exterminate all 80 generations of your ancestors. Die. Boom. This time, the golden cudgel smashed down onto the great clan elder's head. His head was splitting open. The great elder was nailed to the ground like a nail, bleeding from his 7 orifices. The amount of blood on his head instantly decreased as a system notification sounded out. Long Fei didn't care. Instead, he turned around slightly to look at the remaining 7 people, smiled, and said, first kill, there are still 7 more that can transcend the god. Hee. Now. It's your turn. I'll play a little trick on you all. The Sun Wukong's idea moved, releasing a holy source, and shouted, body securing technique. Chapter 1573, Slaughtering the City. Chapter 1573, Slaughtering the City. The 72 transformations in Sun Wukong, Immobilize was only one of them. As soon as he finished, the 7 of them were instantly stopped, their faces were filled with shock, their eyeballs rolled back and forth, and they were unable to move. Even the 2-star spiritual warriors in their bodies were the same, unable to move at all. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Long Fei's body moved, landing in front of the 7 of them, and asked, is 9 secret warrior family that awesome? I will kill the people from your 9 secret warrior family. In that instant, Long Fei's gaze sunk, as he replied with a staff, boom, boom, boom. It was like beating a hamster. Their bodies were nailed to the ground one by one in midair, leaving only their heads on the ground as their bodies were stabbed underground. Boom. Boom. Long Fei pulled out a few hairs and smiled. Come, all of you, die. 7 hairs, 7 figures descended at the same time, and 7 golden cudgel attacked at the same time. All of them had their heads explode. In that instant, the system beep exploded. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Zhong Clan's 3rd elder, for obtaining 1 billion experience points, 20 million holy source points, and 10 energy values point. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Zhong Clan's 2nd elder, for obtaining 1 billion experience, holy source points, 20,000 points, energy values, 10 point. Ding. Congratulations to player Kong Fei for leveling up. Ding, ding, ding. However, Long Fei was in a very bad mood. Damn, even Zhon Tianlong has 5 billion experience points. You 2 powerhouse who have fused with 2 stars S only have 1 billion experience points. Aren't you giving them too much face? Of course. This was because Long Fei had leveled up, otherwise these elders would have all had more than 5 billion experience, or maybe even more. However, Long Fei's magic body level had soared, and in a short moment, it had shot up to level 86. It was a complete mess. However, what made Long Fei excited was not the things that the Grand Elders of Battle had dropped, but the feeling of becoming the great sage Qi Tian. He felt like he was looking down on the world with disdain, like a king that had descended to the world. It was a wonderful feeling. This made Long Fei desire the power of the powerhouse even more. The transformed Sun Wukong was disdainful of everything. Whoever came would die, whoever came would do it, an existence that turned everything upside down. The power of a sovereign. Calmly, it exceeded Long Fei's expectations. It was really strong. Abnormal strength. Long Fei secretly thought, what exactly is the background of this main artifact? It's a main gun at the first stage, it can kill whoever it locks on. The second stage's evolved power is actually Great Sage Qi Tian. How powerful is this? Moreover, what's at the end of him? He's only at the 2nd level of evolution. How many levels have he reached? Long Fei didn't know. He now knew why the dragon race had to bring this item out of the divinity no matter what if they were to die. Because it really could reverse everything. This was still a 2nd order evolution. What kind of power would he be able to evolve into when he reached a later stage? It was unimaginable. Li Yuanba ran in front of Long Fei with saliva left on his mouth, and said with a face full of envy, "Wow, boss, you're too domineering." His eyes gleamed with golden light. Fat Man Chen's eyes were like stars, saliva was dripping from his mouth. He wanted to touch it, but he couldn't, as he was filled with excitement. There was still more than a minute of time before Sun Wukong's end. Long Fei smiled faintly. Do you want to take a look at something even more handsome? Li Yuanba and Fat Man Chen both nodded heavily. At this time, Long Fei moved. Boom, boom, boom. Grabbing a handful of hair, he blew them into the air and turned them all into Sun Wukong, the golden cudgel dancing about, more and more ferocious, finally occupying the entire space of the Hell City. A hair on one head, a doppelganger. Countless hairs were on the back of a big monkey, and so many clones were nothing at all. Long Fei moved his body and said, "Slaughter the city." As soon as he finished, the clones that filled the sky rushed out in unison. The 8 King Kong was burning with excitement one by one. Too cool, too cool. Ha ha ha. Boss is mighty. The boss is domineering. It was also at this time that Li Yuanba shouted out, "We will settle the score, Slaughter City." Roar. The spirits charged out immediately. The flames of anger in the 8 King Kong were constantly being suppressed by the 3 great forces of the Hell Gate. They were fleeing in all directions like dogs that had lost their homes. Now, they would have to return it in one go. Kill. The giant spirit axe in Li Yuanba's hands trembled, and rushed into the crowd. Back then you squashed us, but now it's our turn. One by one, they rushed out. Long Fei looked at Aoya. Aoya smiled and said, "She needs you more." She looked at Nangong Yang who was hugging his knees and shivering in the distance. Nangong Yang needed Long Fei more at this time, and she. It was Long Fei's woman and also Long Fei's brother. She understood. she understood Long Fei. After she finished speaking, she also rushed out, charging straight into the group of Hell's disciples. Long Fei walked in front of Nangong Yang. Only a thin undergarment remained on Nangong Yang's body. His entire body was swollen and were imprinted with claw marks. His entire body shivered and his eyes trembled. Looking at the furry Long Fei, she trembled even more violently. Any woman facing such a situation wouldn't be able to bear the impact of such a heart attack. Furthermore, it was a scene that happened in front of their beloved man. Even if your heart was strong, you wouldn't be able to endure it. Long Fei's heart was bleeding. The idea roared in his heart, kill them all, kill them all. Use the cruelest method possible to kill them all. And then he crouched down and slowly carried Nangong Yang in his arms. Nangong Yang's hair was disheveled, she was extremely afraid, but she was also resisting and struggling, crazily hammering and biting in Long Fei's embrace, her mouth full of monkey hair. Long Fei lightly patted her back and said, "It's okay, it's okay. I'm Long Fei, it's okay." Inwardly, he said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." The Hell City was filled with cries and screams. The monkey army was massacring crazily, and there was massacring crazily. At the same time, Long Fei's system beep was soaring dramatically. Experience was soaring. His striking energy value was also going wild. Long Fei acted as if he did not feel anything at all. To him, the entire world was not as important as Nangong Yang's recovery. 1 minute passed. Long Fei's body recovered. Upon seeing the familiar Long Fei, he immediately collapsed and started crying loudly. At this moment, she had scratched Long Fei's chest until it was rotten. Long Fei hugged her tightly, and hugged her with all his might. Hold tight. Nangong Yang bit Long Fei's shoulder, and said, Long Fei, woo. They were all crying, S heart almost shattered from crying. Background, default background color light blue ocean light yellow clear green light elegant red powder aristocratic family white snow world gray world color, default black red green blue brown size, default small medium large double click rolling screen, slowest, moderately fastest. Background, default background color light blue ocean light yellow clear green light elegant red powder aristocratic family white snow world gray world color, default black red green blue brown size, default small medium large double click rolling screen, slowest, moderately fastest chapter 1574 Secret World to Hell chapter 1574 Secret World to Hell author. A lot of water from the sea returns to the table of contents to join the bookmark. Table of contents, chapter 1574 Secret World of Hell 3 days and 3 nights. Hell City screamed for 3 days and 3 nights. The first day Long Fei did not participate. On the second and third day, he summoned all of the 8 King Kong's back. The woman who had hurt him, he was going to slaughter a city. He was like a homicidal maniac. However, to the people of Chaos Realm, this was a joyous event. Long Fei had saved the world. Long Fei had become their hero. The Hellgate disciples were demons in their hearts, while Long Fei was a hero. Hellgate's main rudder was exterminated, the entire Chaos Realm was shaken. Even the Tower Question of God were affected. Long Fei. Zhon Wushuang knew that Zhon Tianlong had been killed, and that the Grand Elders of the Zhon clan had been killed. The Tower Question of God's Tower Lord idea moved, and said, Wushuang, you should now focus all of your attention on the matters of the Impact Sky Tower, and not let anything distract you. Zhon Wushuang clenched both his fists tightly, and said sinisterly, Long Fei, just you wait. Then, once again, he closed up for cultivation. He was getting closer and closer to breaking through the 100th floor of the God's Tower. The moment I obtain my power, I'll let you die. At the same time, Zhon Wushuang sent a sound transmission to the Tower Lord. Tower Lord, please tell my father not to send anyone else to deal with Long Fei. I will personally kill him. The Tower Lord of the Tower Question of God nodded. I will tell you. No matter how Long Fei changed, in his heart, Long Fei was never comparable to him. This was also the reason why he chose Zhon Wushuang. Moreover, the 9 Secret Warrior family was far more powerful than he had imagined. Boom. He had broken through the 98th level. It was much easier than he imagined. Like before, Saint Presbyter was obviously giving way to him, but Shenyuan Lier pretended not to know anything and directly stepped onto the 99th floor. Big brother Long Fei, there are only 2 floors left for me to leave this place. I can go and find you now. Big brother Long Fei, wait for me. 9 Secret Warrior Family. Zhong Tiantu sat on the patriarch's seat, and his eyes were incomparably cold. The 8 Grand Elders had teamed up together, but weren't able to kill Long Fei, and furthermore, the entire Hell City was slaughtered. The power that he had single-handedly built up, Long Fei, only needed less than a month to completely uproot it. The destruction of the Hell Gate, Bounty Gate, and the 3 main sects could no longer be recovered. Monkeys all over the city. The backlash of the 8 King Kong's heavenly tribulation. Who exactly is helping them? There must be someone behind Long Fei and the 8 King Kong, Zhong Tiantu said heavily. Go and investigate it for me. I must find out. Long Fei, I will definitely not let you go. I swear with my life, I will definitely make you pay. And then, Zhong Tiantu had once again entered the 9 secret borders. Hell City. Long Fei looked at the entire treasury of ancient spiritual artifact, his heart boiling. He said, Hell Gate collected all of the ancient spiritual artifact here. Zhong Wushuang, just what kind of power does your god's shield possess? Strangely enough, there were only ancient spiritual artifact here, and not ancient holy artifact that provided the energy of the 10th floor. Over 1,000 ancient spiritual artifact. Long Fei quickly filled up the golden cudgel's energy. At this moment, the heavenly spirit walked in and said, Boss, we found a secret world. It seems to be hell inside. Could it be where your father is? Recommended book chapter table of contents. Quickly save the current chapter page to your browser favorites. Press enter to return to the chapter catalog. Press O to return to the previous chapter. Press to enter the next chapter. Chapter 1575 Illusionary World. Chapter 1575 Illusionary World. The power of the Sky Spirit was special. He could sense things that ordinary people could not. Hearing him say this, Long Fei immediately thought of the order badge that he had obtained from the great clan elder of the Hell Gate. Then, he thought about what his father had once said about the exquisite spirit in the Hell Gate. He quickly stored the ancient spiritual artifact in the treasury. As if celebrating the new year, the energy in the golden cudgel's 100 floors was instantly filled up. Ding! Energy replenishment complete. Current energy level, 23. Ding! Energy replenishment complete. Current energy level 34. Ding! Energy completed. Current energy level, 79. In just half a minute, the golden cudgel had become 100 layers. The golden cudgel had once again entered the realm of flickering red light. With a single movement, Long Fei's idea could transform into a Sun Wukong and be used as he wished. The power of main artifact. Half an hour later, Long Fei and 7 King Kongs stood at the entrance of Secret World. Aoya didn't come, she stayed behind to take care of Nangong Yang. Although Nangong Yang had recovered quite a bit in the past 3 days, her heart was still in a state of collapse. Boss, it's here. It's very similar to the aura we had in the death space. Could it be? Li Yuanba looked at Long Fei. The reason they could live from hell back to life was because of Long Zhanting's help. In that space of death, they were very clear about the aura inside, and it was very similar to the aura in Secret World. If it's really uncle, then we must save him, Ahat said. Long Fei had met his father when he was still in the air above the tower question of God. This secret world was a secret world of hell and death, but he did not seem like the death space his father was in. Long Fei said indifferently, you guys wait outside. Huh. Boss, why don't you bring us along? Boss, bring us along. We've been training hard for so long that our fists are starting to itch. Yes, boss is begging you, bring us along. 7 King Kongs began begging one by one. When they rushed to Hell City, they had only released one move, and it was even with the combined power. Long Fei said, I only have one token. Long Fei took out the Hell's medallion, and said, only one person can enter this medallion. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to. Naturally, there was a way. If he allowed the 8 of them to enter the base, He could bring them in, but Long Fei didn't want them to risk following him. Secret world heading to hell would not be able to turn back if they weren't careful. Li Yuanba looked at the Holy Spirit. The Spirit of Heaven shook his head. If they could go in, they would have gone in when they found out. However, the secret world required something special to enter. Li Yuanba said, "Boss, then you have to be careful by yourself. Wait for me outside. I'll be out soon." While they were talking, Long Fei took the order badge and walked into the secret world. At this time, Long Fei was slowly engulfed by the Death Chi flame. When his body completely entered the Death Chi flame, the order badge in his hand disappeared. And he appeared in a long corridor. Ding! System notification. Players are located on a path of no return. Ding! System notification. No teleportation is allowed on this map. Summon function. Special map. Long Fei looked at the system prompt and his heart shivered. There are many such maps in the game. One cannot return to the city or use summoning. There are many restrictions. Usually, there was only one possibility in this situation. It was a super powerful boss. Long Fei had a lot of experience playing this game, so he said lightly, "If I'm not wrong, the one inside should be the Hellgate super boss." The 8 Grand Elders of Zhong Clan were indeed boss-level powerhouse, but they were not the strongest boss of Hellgate. The most powerful boss should be here. In the secret world S of the Infernal Realm, Long Fei moved, using his points to exchange for a super eyes, then using the super teleportation found that he was unable to use his teleportation skill. And then, the summoning ability can't be used. Where's the war pet? Long Fei moved. God's war beasts, come out. Buzz. Ding. System notification. The special location cannot be used. Boss, what's going on? Why can't I leave? I'm tied down by a powerful force and can't break out. What kind of power is this? Try again, I can't do it. The God's War Beasts was very unhappy. He had never been restricted by power before. Long Fei did not try again, and said, "It's no use, the location here is a little special." The power that restricted him was not any other power but the power of the system. Long Fei couldn't possibly tell him that it was the system, right? Even if she told him, the God's War Beasts would not understand. It was also at this time. Long Fei walked towards the exit and discovered that the exit had already disappeared. The Infernal Realm's path of no return. There really is no way back. Alright. Then let's see what kind of boss you have. Long Fei's heart skipped a beat and he walked forward. The path of no return was long and gloomy, and the skeletons could be seen everywhere. They emitted a strong aura of death, and the deeper they went, the thicker and harder it was to resist. What exactly is this place? After walking for more than 4 hours, they still had not reached the end. It was like walking through a ghost wall. There was only one path, and it was impossible to get lost in a very narrow corridor. Long Fei felt that this was somewhat unbelievable. And then, he moved his body slightly. The idea moved. Boom. The idea shot out, piercing through the death aura and quickly spreading out. Suddenly, a pair of eyes suddenly opened and stared. Buzz. Long Fei consecutively retreated backwards, and his idea was instantly crushed. The light that was released by those eyes was unimaginable. It's a boss. Long Fei's brows twitched, and he stabilized his body as he ran into the darkness with all his strength. Swish, swish, swish. His figure was like a ghost. The might of the demon god was rapidly released, locking his eyes in place without loosening his grip. Full speed. In an instant, Long Fei appeared in front of that pair of eyes. This father doesn't want to wander around in this hallway for a few more hours. Boom. The power of the 9 tribulations sword moved as the 3 tribulations began to burn. The light from the 9 tribulations sword illuminated the entire body of the giant eye. An incomparably ferocious statue. It looked like a demon guarding the gates of hell. Its fangs were bent, and its entire body was made up of skeletons. Savage. His entire body was a statue, but his eyes looked like he was alive, they could move, and he was staring straight at Long Fei. His gaze was filled with boundless pressure. Moreover, Long Fei instantly entered into a dreamscape which was filled with the illusion of a sea of blood. Guardian of Hell. Nightmare Phantom. Long Fei stood above the sea of blood, looked at the sky, and said, "Illusory world." Chapter 1575 Violent Killing. Chapter 1575 Violent Killing. Is the illusionary world awesome? The corner of Long Fei's mouth drew back and she laughed coldly. At this moment, a pair of gigantic eyes appeared in the sky, those eyes that produced illusions. She stared at Long Fei and coldly said, "You're not awesome, but a person like you will never be able to escape. Is that so?" Long Fei laughed. The pair of giant eyes let out a sound and said, "Is that not the case? Your power cannot be broken through. You will live your entire life in an illusion and very quickly, you will lose yourself and very quickly, you will become a part of the sea of blood." Very arrogant. He was also very confident. The Nightmare Phantom was very confident in the illusory world that she had created. Long Fei can't do it either. However, while he was full of confidence and arrogance, a red staff appeared in Long Fei's hands, the corners of Long Fei's mouth raised. "Then let's see if your illusionary world can handle it." Buzz. Great Sage Chitian. Boom. The aura on Long Fei's body suddenly changed, and she instantly transformed into the Sun Wukong mode. The golden cudgel in his hand was immediately thrown away, and he stood where he was and laughed. "Let's see how strong the level of your illusory world is." Transformation? Become a monkey? Ha ha ha. I thought you had some kind of power. So you turned out to be an animal. You won't be able to leave my illusionary world, ha ha ha. Nightmare Phantom laughed loudly. What could a monkey do? It doesn't change anything. While he was laughing maniacally, "Long, let me grow." Long Fei controlled the golden cudgel and it crazily flew up. It was thick and big, like a giant pillar supporting the sky. After absorbing over 1,000 ancient spiritual artifact in Hellgate's treasury, the current Long Fei was like a parvenu. What does this energy need to do? Furthermore, the feeling of transforming into a Sun Wukong was really great. With the change of 72, in addition to the fierce competition of the golden cudgel S. Boom, boom, boom. The golden cudgel released explosive sounds, as though it was piercing through the heavens. Long Fei continued, "Long, crazily long. Since the golden cudgel could reach the heavenly court in Journey to the West, then let's see where the limits of this illusion world lay." Long Fei was not worried at all. Half a minute later, the illusory world began to tremble. Nightmare Phantom's eyes also tightened slightly. Long Fei continued, "Long. Someone from the golden cudgel laughed at you. Why don't you teach him a lesson?" The golden cudgel possessed spiritual awareness, so it was naturally clear that they were being mocked. It didn't matter if he was mocked. His master was a monkey. If it was an animal, then it couldn't be helped. It crazily thickened and grew longer. Rumble. With another cracking sound, the entire blood sea illusion began to tremble violently. Nightmare Phantom tensed up again. Long Fei laughed. "Can't break it. I don't need to break through, because I will crush everything here." Boom. The sky split open, and lines of cracks filled up the sky like lightning. Any illusion world had their limits, and golden cudgel could pierce through the sky, just like how it did the illusion world. Catcher. The sky crazily exploded as piece by piece, with the golden cudgel at the center. The illusion power of the Nightmare Phantom surged out crazily, trying to make up for the collapse of the illusion world. Long Fei grinned. "Did it break?" Nightmare Phantom shouted and said, "Did you go out? It's a good thing that you didn't go out. Let me ask you, did you break it?" The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up. She walked up to the golden cudgel and grabbed at it with both hands. The extremely thick golden cudgel was caught. "You're still being stubborn, aren't you? I'll ask you one thing, are you afraid of such a big and thick staff?" Rumble. With loud bangs, Long Fei grabbed the entire golden cudgel in her hands and exploded with power. Rumble. Smash. Hualala. The sky was split open, and the illusory world was collapsing. Hualala. The entire illusion world was trembling. Long Fei swept her arms out crazily, and even that pair of illusionary eyes were blown blind. She smashed them down again and again, and again, and again and again, and again and again and again. Thick and scared. Carrying the gigantic golden cudgel on his shoulder, Long Fei's entire illusion world had already collapsed. Under his feet, the path to hell had automatically turned into a corridor. He looked at the exhausted pair of eyes. Its holy source had already been used up. The golden cudgel in Long Fei's hands pointed at the pair of huge eyes, and said, "What other bullsh*t are you talking about?" Nightmare Phantom stared at Long Fei angrily, and said, "I do not accept it, so what if you destroy my illusion world? My most powerful physical body is limitless." Not waiting for him to finish. Boom. With a sweep of the staff, Long Fei smashed the rest of the statues into pieces, and asked, "What did you just say about the endless body? Where?" Countless ghosts on the shattered statue roared and howled, and then one by one, they disappeared into nothingness. Long Fei said, "Are you convinced?" The nightmare illusion's anger surged. "Brat, break my illusion, destroy my body, you. I what? Why did it become a stutter?" Long Fei laughed disdainfully. "Speak, where is the next floors in trance?" This was the end of hell's path of no return. There was no other way. It must be because of this nightmare phantom that he knew where the entrance to the next floor was. If not for that, Long Fei would have killed it with a swing of her staff long ago. Nightmare Phantom laughed. "Do you want to go in? Ha ha ha. Begging me. Kneel down and beg me, and I'll make sure that you will enter Hell's Hall. Kneel down." He was exceptionally pleased with himself. Long Fei stared at him, annoyed. After taking a close look at his surroundings, he began to frantically ponder in his mind. He raised his eyes slightly and stared into the pair of eyes as he pleaded, "Please? I beg of you." When had great sage Qi Tian ever begged anyone? "You want him to kneel?" Without saying a word, Long Fei raised her golden cudgel and smashed down fiercely. With a powerful strike, she caused the blood on Nightmare Phantom's head to become crippled. Instantaneously seeing the bottom. Too sudden. The Nightmare Phantom did not react immediately, and Long Fei was extremely furious. "Beg! Do you still want more?" Long Fei bellowed out a few times, and before Nightmare Phantom could say anything, she struck his opponent with her staff a few times. Not giving him any chance to escape at all, she directly killed him. Boom. A blood-curdling scream came out from the void. Nightmare Phantom's body was warping and warping while her eyes were struggling as though she was facing an unparalleled undead. You will definitely die." With a blood-curdling screech, it finally crumbled. Immediately after, a melodious prompt sounded from the system. Ding. Chapter 1577, Death Shura. Chapter 1577, Death Shura. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Nightmare Phantom, for obtaining 100 million experience, 100 million holy source points, and 1 energy values point. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Nightmare Illusion Eye. Do you wish to fuse it? The Nightmare Phantom only revealed a pair of eyes that could create illusions. Long Fei was silent for a while and did not rush to merge with them. The instant he entered the ring. Ding. The Nightmare Illusionary Eye has been swallowed. Heh. Who is it? Long Fei muttered. He was not swallowed, but was instead swallowed by someone else. The sky-swallowing rat giggled. "Boss, these eyes are a big help to me, I just can't hold it in anymore." He was chewing with a satisfied expression on his face. Long Fei waved his hand. "Forget it. But sky-swallowing rat, no matter what, you are still a unique divine beast, right? Aren't you able to swallow the sky? I don't need you to swallow the heavens right now, but can you swallow a divine-level powerhouse?" Long Fei hadn't paid much attention to the situation with the sky-swallowing rat during this period of time. However, he knew that most of the things that he had dropped had been devoured. In Long Fei's war pet space, it was still young, but he didn't know how big it would be. Long Fei asked. The sky-swallowing rat scratched her head. "Boss, give me a little more time, we'll." "Immediately. Soon, I will be able to absorb the divine spark." "I." Long Fei immediately looked at the 10 divine sparks within the space ring and said, I told you to swallow the divine spark of a divine-level powerhouse. If you come out, I promise I won't beat you to death. Actually, sky-swallowing Rat's current cultivation was already extremely terrifying. If he could devour a divine spark, he could have instantly devoured the evolved powerhouse of an ordinary blend for Godhead. But right now, he had yet to reach that step. But soon. Long Fei didn't say anything else and only warned him, "You can engulf the divine spark, but leave me some." The colorful fairy dragon needed a divine spark. Also, Long Fei's level 10 God's Martial sect also required his life, and if Long Fei was unable to break through the divine level, he could only have his brother, the blend for Godhead, break through the ranks of the God's Martial sect and summon those people from the God's Martial continent. Especially the dragon ancestors. They should be allowed to see the colorful fairy dragon above. After the nightmare phantom was killed, Long Fei returned to his original state. At this time, a black hole that resembled a vortex appeared behind his body. This should be the entrance, right? Long Fei moved and said, "Fill up the energy." Long Fei did not need to worry that there were not enough ancient spiritual artifact among the 1,700 or so. And don't worry about dealing with Zhong Wushuang. Right now, he was not even 10% of the power of the Sun Wukong. He had to continuously transform himself to unleash the stronger power of the Sun Wukong. Especially when it came to the energy that had undergone the 72 transformations. Ding. Energy level complete. Current energy level, 100 levels. Buzz. In that instant, Long Fei stepped into the black hole. At this moment, rumble. A loud sound reverberated inside Long Fei's eardrums, and a burst of ear-piercing shrieks sounded out. "Ha ha ha. It's finally here. I knew you would come in one day." Long Fei entered a hall. Sitting in the great hall was a single person, Death God? That's not right. It was the Azura King. However, when Long Fei heard the voice before, it was the voice of the god of death. However, the body of the Azura King, what kind of situation was this? Death Shura? The energy of the Xiao Luo divine body in his body. Suddenly, Long Fei suddenly realized that the Xiao Luo divine body that had merged into his body after being played with by the Shura King in front of the chess piece was most likely the Death Shura's arrangement. The purpose was to monitor himself. Just to get himself in here one day. But what was his purpose in coming here? Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "Death Shura, it had already appeared in the God's Martial continent before, but it's just that. You did not expect that you would be replaced by the power my father used to reverse your control, and you have no choice but to hide here." "Shut up." The Death Shura roared fiercely, a powerful pressure bore down from all directions. The dense power directly sent Long Fei flying, and fiercely struck onto the wall. It was also at this moment. Boom. Countless ghostly hands extended out from the wall and bound Long Fei tightly. Death Shura's eyes turned sinister as he said, "If it wasn't for your father already returning to the divine throne, your father would have asked for all of this. I did so many things for him according to the contract, but in the end, my powers have been stripped away, but..." He looked at Long Fei and laughed sinisterly, saying, "I want to take back what your father has done to me, 10 times over from your body. Do you think that my Xiao Luo divine body is useless? Besides defense, its attack power isn't strong at all? Heh. The defense is just to ensure that you don't die, and you are my vessel. I have obtained endless strength from your body, and the most important thing is the mysterious prompt in your mind. The way you kill people can release all kinds of things, and the way you kill people can be upgraded. Your cultivation method is different from everyone else's, even God doesn't have such a perfect cultivation method. This is it. Who would have thought?" From the moment Long Fei entered the Chaos Realm, countless people had told him that he had concealed a powerful force within his body, and asked him if he had awakened this power. He thought it was the power of Azura. He had never doubted it. After he was attacked by the Destiny God's fate judgment, he was fused together with the Azura King. At that time, he never suspected that the Azura King was actually the god of death that had signed a contract with his father. Who would have thought that he was not dead and had arranged all this? Long Fei never expected this. What was even more unexpected was that the Azura King had fused into his body not to help him, but to find out everything about him. Now, even the system itself was known by him. At this moment, Long Fei felt like someone had discovered his deepest secret. Inverted scale. The real reverse scale. Other than Long Fei himself, Long Fei did not plan to talk about the existence of the system, and more importantly, he did not want others to discover it. The space between his eyebrows tightened. The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up slightly, and said, "You actually know my secret, then don't even think about living in this world. Alive? Ha ha ha. I have never lived, I have always been in a state of death. Long Fei, do you understand what it means to be in a state of death?" The Death Shura laughed coldly, and said, "Obediently hand over that thing in your head, and I will let you become my slave and live in this world forever." Long Fei's brows twitched. Boom. The golden cudgel in his hand flashed with red light. However, in that moment, Death Shura's eyes turned sinister. Critical death. Buzz. Long Fei's brain was suddenly cut off, and the most important point was that he was unable to control the idea. Chapter 1578, Forced Devouring of Divine Spark. Chapter 1578, Forced Devouring of Divine Spark. The idea was blocked by a barrier, making it impossible for it to connect with the system. At this moment. Thus, there was no way to control it. Long Fei's brows tightened. Death Shura laughed coldly. "You won't be able to use your mysterious power, right?" Ha ha ha. I was indeed not mistaken. The idea had to issue an order. As long as you block the link between the idea and that power, you will not be able to use that power. Long Fei, I have already seen through you. My power of Azura was indeed not wrong when it came to you. Ha ha ha. You're even more of a surprise to me than your father. Ha ha ha. It can be said that you even surpassed your mother's soul. Death Shura was extremely excited. When Long Zhanting seized his power, she made him lose the chance to return to the divine realm. At that time, he swore that he would take revenge 10 times over. When he noticed Long Fei's sudden rise in power, he had been curious. What kind of inherent skill could make Long Fei break through so quickly without training and just killing people? For this, he merged the power of Azura into Long Fei's body and began to lurk. If he wanted to find out exactly what kind of mysterious power was inside Long Fei's body, he would have to lurk around Long Fei's body. Strange notifications sounded again and again. Time and again, something that appeared out of nowhere from the space ring. All sorts of strange cards and mysterious powers appeared in his mind time and time again. He didn't understand them at all, but he was even more sure of his own thoughts. Long Fei was definitely not an ordinary person, and the mysterious power Long Fei possessed caused him to be extremely envious. He had to possess it. If he possessed this kind of power, then it would only be a matter of time before he returned to his divine position. He could even become the ruler of these 100,000 planes and trample over all of the gods in Main Temple. When he thought about this, the Death Shura couldn't help but laugh wildly and complacently, saying, "Long Fei, hand it over obediently, I will grant you eternal strength." Ah, ha, ha. Long Fei kept trying, his idea was completely blocked, and he could not enter the system world, nor could he use the power of the golden cudgel. The idea was activated. Now that the idea was sealed in a special critical space, Long Fei was completely unable to use it. In other words, Long Fei was now completely isolated from the system. This was the first time in history. Long Fei's heart slightly sunk. He did not panic, but rather asked Death Shura, "Do you really want my power that much?" Death Shura said, "Of course, the power that you have up till now is the most perfect power that I have discovered. Killing people and exploding things, killing people and leveling up, is there any better way of cultivation? Long Fei, giving you this kind of power is already a waste, you don't even know how to use it. Give him to me, I will let you see what is power and what is the strongest kind of power. I will turn the entire Chaos Realm into a plane of death. I will make everyone, all the demon beast, die under my hands." Ha ha ha. Death God started laughing maniacally when he thought of this. Long Fei's power was too perfect for him. It was just like how he had created it himself. "Hand it over and become my slave." I will let you see the world trembling for me. The Death Shorer stared at Long Fei. The idea that had been controlling Long Fei throughout death was not relaxed at all. He would never give Long Fei even the slightest chance, because he was too familiar with Long Fei. As long as Long Fei was given a small chance, he could reverse the situation, just like how his father had reversed the situation in the death space. He would never make the same mistake again. Absolutely not. Long Fei was stunned. The Death Shorer's understanding of the system was beyond his imagination. He could not let him live. He absolutely could not let him live. The Death Shorer must die. Moreover, he had to kill off the Azura force within his body. This was too dangerous. But now, his idea could not be controlled, and even if he had the strength, he could not use it. Moreover, he had to face the Death God's training. Ordinary strength was simply not enough. Sister. Long Fei secretly thought. The Sleeping Beauty was lying on her side, sleeping soundly. She had no intention of waking up at all. If she fell asleep, even if the sky collapsed, she wouldn't wake up, let alone a voice as soft as Long Fei's. Divine Dragon? Long Fei shouted once again. The colorful fairy dragon's eyes were slightly closed, as if it had entered some sort of secluded cultivation, and didn't hear Long Fei's call for him at all. The system is not available. Golden Cudgel cannot be used. The Sleeping Beauty who knew everything could not wake up. The strong colorful fairy dragon were also in closed-door cultivation, so there was no one available for Long Fei right now. Suddenly, Long Fei suddenly realized that besides the system, he had nothing better to do with the Super War Pet. Nothing. This feeling was truly very uncomfortable. If the system disappears, if my idea is unable to control everything, what else do I have? Long Fei's heart was suddenly shocked, and for some reason, a cold feeling rose from within his heart. Suddenly he was afraid. At this moment, Death Shorer suddenly shouted, Long Fei, have you thought this through? Did you hand it over obediently? I still have to do it myself. I can guarantee that if I do it, you will definitely be in a very, very miserable state. Long Fei's heart shook, and stopped thinking about the matter of losing the system. No matter what happens in the future, Long Fei will bravely face it. He definitely would not allow something like this in the Death Shorer to happen again. His heart stirred as he said, Sky-swallowing rat, what if you engulf the divine spark now? Devour all 10 of them together. Can you eat this guy? Sky-swallowing rat immediately responded, no problem. He was different from the colorful fairy dragon as he could hear Long Fei's words. Because he was a sky-swallowing rat refined by Long Fei's devourer's vein and was also a part of Long Fei's body. Long Fei said, then what are you waiting for? All 10 divine sparks belong to you. I want you to devour all of this guy's power, the power that covers my body. Long Fei quickly ordered. When the sky-swallowing rat moved, 10 divine sparks fell into its mouth like candy. Boom, 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 bang, 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 bang. Long Fei, stop wasting time. The Death Shorer moved suddenly. A powerful aura rolled over and pressed down on Long Fei's mind like a mountain toppling over the ocean. Long Fei was completely unable to move. Long Fei also had no intention to move, and asked softly, you want my strength? Come and take it if you dare. Death Shorer's eyes were filled with anger. Brat, you asked for this yourself. At this time, the sky-swallowing rat burped and said, Boss, I'm done. Chapter 1579, Blast Him. Chapter 1579, Blast Him Boss, I'm full. The sky-swallowing rat burped continuously. He swallowed all 10 divine sparks, forcibly devouring them. Unexpectedly, nothing had happened. Long Fei was secretly excited. The Death Shorer said sinisterly, Long Zhanting, I had thought that your soul would be able to help me return to my divine body, but your son is more suitable for me, ha ha ha. Seize my strength. I will take it back from your son today. In that instant, Death Shorer suddenly moved his fingers. Opening his fingers, 5 thin and long fingers appeared like needles, each of them flashing with a cold light. Ghastly, terrifying. Bringing the power of the Death Shorer with him, he pierced towards Long Fei's head and said, Long Fei, Give me all of your power, ha ha ha. At this moment, Long Fei laughed in disdain, and said, sacrifice your sister. Sky-swallowing rat, eat it. Creak. A crisp sound rang out. Death Shorer sneered and said, sky-swallowing rat? The baby mouse. He does indeed have some power, but what can the sky-swallowing rat and its cubs do? Not to mention he can be summoned by you, even if you can call him out, how could it? Without waiting for Death Shorer to finish speaking, his pupils abruptly shrank and sank. Because his body was covered by a black shadow. He turned his head and saw a gigantic sky-swallowing rat standing behind him. The sky-swallowing rat said slightly, what did you say just now? So what if I summon it? A powerful force. When sky-swallowing rat cultivated to a certain level, they could really swallow the heavens. Long Fei sneered at Death Shorer and said, speak, continue speaking, what can you do to him? What can you do to me? Hiding within my body, wanting to obtain my strength. Come on. Come now. He had never suspected the Azura King, but he never thought that the Azura King would actually be hiding in his body to observe everything. It actually wanted to steal his life, and even knew that his system existed. The system was Long Fei's reverse scale. No one could know. The Death Shorer's gaze tensed up as he stared at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, this is the Azura Hall, the world that I control, this. I am the hegemon. Let alone a sky-swallowing rat, even if it's. Long Fei waved his hand and said, don't be a bastard if you can fight. I don't want to waste my breath on you. Attack. Long nights bring many troubles, Death Shorer cannot be given any chance. Death Shorer shouted and suddenly changed his speed. As long as I can obtain that mysterious power of yours, everything that you have will be mine. Colorful fairy dragon. Heavenly court, 2 bases in hell. And your 8 King Kong, your women, they are all mine. A fight to the death. As long as he absorbed the system's power from Long Fei's mind, he could instantly control the sky-swallowing rat. There was no need to worry at all. However, just when Death Shorer's 5 fingers were a few centimeters away from Long Fei's head, he heard a crack, and then, there was no then. It was eaten by the sky-swallowing rat. Chicken, crispy. Catcher, catcher. A series of crisp sounds came out from the sky-swallowing rat's mouth. The sky-swallowing rat said contentedly, Boss, this taste is really good, and it also contained tremendous power. It's a great tonic. Heh. He ate heartily, as if he was hugging oil with both hands and eating it with his lamb leg, which was overflowing with the smell of burnt meat. Long Fei said, don't just focus on eating, I will devour the energy in my body as well. It was too dangerous. If the system were to find out, he would be killed in front of Xiao Bai, and by everyone, because they would think that this was a shortcut for cultivation. No one liked that kind of boring cultivation. If killing someone could help them break through, then everyone would want to take this shortcut. Moreover, they would think that this was the most comfortable path to break through. Only Long Fei knew how difficult it was. The sky-swallowing rat said, Boss, don't worry. The sky-swallowing rat was not only able to devour the Death Shorer, it was also able to devour everything. All the undead in the Azura Hall were also crazily devoured by him. These were all ghost slave from the Death Shorer. Roar. Ah. Long Fei, you can't kill me, I was the one who saved you, I gave you a new life, if not. Do you think you can still stand here? You were killed by the heavenly tribulation a long time ago. It's me. I saved you. You can't do this to me. You can't kill me. When you went through the tribulation in God's martial continent, you died. Do you think you succeeded? It's just that you were killed by the heavenly tribulation. It was I who stole the heaven from the heaven and used the youth master of Hellgate to exchange for you, so all of your appearances changed because of this. I saved you, you can't kill me. The Death Shorer said loudly. Long Fei was stunned. His 3 years of memories were all blank, and all the previous memories of this body were all blank. Even Shenyuan Li himself was unable to remember them all. It could be said. Long Fei had no memory of this body at all. He had thought about this question for a very long time and could not find an answer. Now that the Death Shorer had said this, He finally came to a realization as he thought in his heart, heavenly tribulation at the great perfection. I should have successfully transcended the heavenly tribulation, but why would Death Shura say that? Did I really die once? I clearly succeeded, but why am I still dead? Could it be that there is another kind of power hidden within the heavenly tribulation? A power aimed at me? Long Fei's brain wasn't strong enough. He kept things very simple. But when he was told by Death Shura, he suddenly realized that there was no such thing as simple as that. Death Shura said, "You are a descendant of the dragon race. The power of heavenly tribulation will not let you go so easily. I was the one who saved you, otherwise you would have died long ago. Long Fei, you can't kill me, you can't kill me." Long Fei's gaze darkened, and said, "Why did you say that no descendants of the dragon race could successfully pass through the tribulation? Why did the heavenly tribulation target the descendants of the dragon?" Long Fei was one of the people from the Long family. Long family was indeed a dragon. It was just that. Long Fei was the reincarnation of a Yuan Long. He had forcefully killed the Yuan Long and became his own. However, he was different from the other disciples of the dragon clan. He had never become a dragon, because his dragon blood activation is 0. His grandfather had turned into a dragon once, and the disciples of the Long family had turned into dragons once. Death Shura said, "If you want to know everything, then release me." Negotiating with me? Long Fei's eyes were filled with killing intent, and he said, "Your F*** king thinking too much, explode with him." Chapter 1580 Body Division, 2 Bodies. Chapter 1580 Body Division, 2 Bodies. The sky-swallowing rat received the order and instantly activated the crazy swallowing mode. His body was like a meat grinder, the huge tornado engulfed Death Shura within, he was unable to extricate himself, the energy in Death Shura's body was also frantically leaking. "No! No! Long Fei, you can't kill me, you can't. Please, please, I'll tell you everything, please don't kill me," Death Shura pleaded, but Long Fei ignored him. It didn't matter if what he said was true or false. One sentence. If the heavens did not want him to live, he would not let the heavens feel good either. Swallow. The sky-swallowing rat continued to exert its strength, and the blood groove on the top of Death Shura's head began to decrease crazily. During this period, the power of the Azura King within Long Fei's body was also rapidly decreasing. It was sucked into the sky-swallowing rat's body. Long Fei also let out a sigh of relief in his heart, "I've finally gotten rid of it." Boom. The body of the Death Shura exploded in midair as he roared out, "Long Fei, you will regret this." Long Fei grinned and said, "Regret? I, Long Fei, have never regretted doing anything, go ahead." Rumble, Death Shura exploded as the system sounded out. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Death Shura for obtaining 2.9 billion experience, 1000000 holy source points, and 10 energy values points. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining exquisite soul. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the Azura space. Do you wish to learn it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Azura sword. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Azura blood vein. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Azura's true body. Congratulations to player Long Fei. It was a complete mess. All good things. Furthermore, the system beep was still continuing. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for his magic body level increase, currently level 87. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Death Shura for obtaining the system reward. Do you wish to fuse the reward item Death Tribulation? Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for swallowing an Azura blood vein. The blood vein's rank has been continuously upgraded. Current blood vein level, 86. Ding. A crazy explosion. This was the pace at which they were going to kill the boss. Huff, huff. Long Fei looked at the items that dropped, Azura's true body exchange point. Azura space, train. After doing all this, Long Fei returned the sky-swallowing rat back to the war pet space. The sky-swallowing rat had not completely absorbed the 10 divine sparks, so coupled with the fact that his breakthrough speed was similar to flying this time, he needed some time to refine the energy in his body. It was also at this moment. Boom. Long Fei moved, enter the Azura space. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for opening Azura space for obtaining 100 experience points, Holy Source 100 points, and the reward is 100 points. This was a special space. Training space. Long Fei took a deep breath, thinking about what would happen if he lost the system the moment his idea was bound by the Death Shora. How miserably did he die? Long Fei had never thought about this. The system was in his mind, and it could be said that a strand of his consciousness could not disappear, nor could it be extracted by the Death Shora. But, what if? What if he didn't have the system anymore? This world was much more powerful and terrifying than he had imagined. If he was really the system, then what would happen? Had never thought about it before, but after this matter, he had to think about it. I'm too reliant on the system. The existence of the system itself is a bug. If I were to retract the system, I would have nothing left. This is a very serious problem. This was also the first time Long Fei had considered this question. Why did it appear in his body? In the real sense of the system, who was controlling it? What if the developer of the system became unhappy and he suddenly recalled the system back into his body? These questions are vague, but what if? Long Fei had no choice but to consider it. This was also the reason he entered the Azura space. If what Death Shora said is true, then the heavens will not tolerate me. Combined with what the divine dragon said, could it be that the heavens are that mysterious power that will deal with the dragon race? Long Fei never thought that he would actually die once. Furthermore, he believed that he had successfully transcended the tribulation, so he had no idea that he had died. From that, he knew that this power could easily kill him. Even he didn't know. Regardless of whether it was the power used to deal with the dragon race or not, Long Fei had to be careful with every step he took. Huff. Long Fei exhaled once again, the idea moved, and said, activate the body division technique. Ding. System prompt. Do you want to start the body splitting technique? The system flashed with red light. This was a warning notification. It meant that this decision was extremely important for Long Fei to consider again. Long Fei answered without hesitation. Yes. He had wanted to overdo it when he had obtained the body dividing technique, but at that time, he had only thought about it and did not plan to do it yet. Now. He did not hesitate. The split body technique was like a computer partition. Split the plate into 2 plates. Moreover, it was 2 completely different plates. Ding. Activate body division. Players, please split your body freely. At this moment, Long Fei entered a separate dimension. Other than the Heaven Calamity Divine Tree and the 9 Tribulations Sword, Long Fei did not give him anything else when he wanted to completely separate the divine demon body. The most crucial point. Long Fei completely isolated the power of the system from the body of the god and devil. If he was a puppet of the system, then he did not want his other body to become a puppet of the system. When magic bodies struggled their way out, they would have to rely on regular cultivation methods. He's just like a normal fighter. It was a completely new system, and everything related to the system, Long Fei, was within the body of the real face. The magic body was one of Long Fei's seeds. 2 hours later. Ding. Separate body successfully. It was also at this moment. Long Fei returned to his real face appearance, and the magic body stood in front of him. It had the same consciousness, the same thoughts. Long Fei could clearly feel what the magic body was thinking. On the contrary, magic body were the same. The magic body was completely separated from the rest. He was now an independent existence. Long Fei looked at the demon god and said, from today onwards, you are my deepest secret, and from now on, no one will know of your existence. I need you to cultivate with ease. I need you to see a world that I cannot see. I need you to help me find out who is dealing with the dragon race. Just who wants to kill me? The heavens. Wait. Chapter 1581, Leah enter level 100. Chapter 1581 Leah enter level 100. The decision to separate the magic body was made on a temporary basis by Long Fei. He now had two bodies, both of which were independent. One had a system. It possessed an incomparable divine tree of heavenly tribulation, as well as incomparable talent and potential. His body and Long Fei's were completely different. His pubes were as vast as the ocean, his veins were unobstructed. His blood veins were heaven-defying and powerful, and he was the most perfect body that Long Fei had separated from. Self-judgment, independent thinking. The magic body would be Long Fei's strongest secret, and also his greatest trump card. The Azura Hall collapsed, and the path of no return also collapsed. At this moment, another death space. Long Zhanting's eyes slightly opened, and said excitedly, "I already said, you're not my son's opponent, ha ha ha." At this moment, dragon power wildly burst out from Long Zhanting's body, crazily absorbing all the power from the death space. Death Shura had fallen. Right now, Long Zhanting was the Death Shura, an existence that controlled life and death. After a long time, Long Zhanting's eyes flashed with a bright light, and she said lightly, "It's time to go to hell. Chaos Realm will be destroyed by Xiao Fei before long. I must be prepared. I must prepare everything for him. He will definitely enter the divinity. Only in ancient holy battlefield." Long Zhanting's heart tensed up, an image appeared in his mind again. No matter how many times he had prophesied, the image could not be changed. Just like fate, it was impossible to escape. "Xiao Fei, you have to hold on." Long Zhanting clenched both his fists tightly, and the idea suddenly appeared in front of him. The gigantic stone door was pushed open. Gates of hell. The real hell. Different from the underworld of, the hell here was the hell of the 100,000 planes controlled by the main temple, a paradise after the fall of the powerhouse. Long Zhanting took a step inside. When the secret world collapsed, Long Fei returned to the Hellgate in his real face appearance. 7 King Kongs had been waiting outside the secret world. Upon seeing Long Fei walking out of the secret world, the 7 of them heaved a sigh of relief. Li Yuanba walked forward and asked, "Boss, are you alright?" Long Fei nodded his head. "One-hit kill. Heh heh." The heavenly spirit immediately laughed. "I knew it. Boss is definitely invincible, but... Boss, is Uncle's death space inside?" Long Fei shook his head and said, "No." "Oh." The 7 of them were a little down, and when they saw that they were very concerned about Long Zhanting. It was Long Zhanting who saved them. It was Long Zhanting who had given them a new lease in their hearts. If possible, they really wanted to save Long Zhanting from the secret world. Li Yuanba said, "Boss, what do we do next?" Long Fei asked, "Did 9 secret warrior family do anything?" Li Yuanba said, "Not at the moment. I think it's a little abnormal. With 9 secret warrior families' temper, they would never let it go so easily. 10 divine level powerhouses dying all of a sudden. This time, there hasn't been any reaction at all for the past few days. Could it be that they were shocked by us?" For the next 3 days, there was no response from Zhon family. What are they waiting for? Long Fei thought of a person, Zhon Wushuang. They were definitely waiting for Zhon Wushuang to break through the 100 layers of God's tower, and at that time, Zhon Wushuang would receive one of the God's power. This power should be the strongest power in the Chaos Realm. Long Fei thought for a moment, then said, "If the Zhon clan does not take action, we shall attack first." 7 King Kongs immediately laughed excitedly. They were fanatics when it came to fighting. Every one of them were battle maniacs, and hated that they couldn't kill him to the core. They were not addicted to fighting in the Hellgate at all. "That would be great." Arhat scratched his head and said, "Boss, do you know the location of the 9 secret warrior family?" "Huh. Huh." Everyone was stunned. The Zhon clan was extremely mysterious. No one knew where the main clan headquarters was, and even the Hellgate elders from the past had only used their card to communicate with them. He had no idea where the Zhon clan was located. Except for the Zhon clan, Long Fei's brows slightly tightened, and said, "This is indeed a problem. After all, if others wanted to bully you, they would bully you. If others didn't move, you wouldn't even know his position, right? This was too passive." It really did not fit Long Fei's personality. At this time, Fallen Dragon put his palms together and said, I heard that the Shenyuan nationality and Zhon family are very close during our travels outside. If we can find the Shenyuan nationality, maybe we can find Zhon family's location. Shenyuan clan? Long Fei frowned slightly. At this time, Aoya brought Nangong Yang and Yi Jingyun over. Aoya said, I know a little about the Shenyuan family's position. Long Fei looked at her, then looked at Nangong Yang. She had pretty much recovered, and there was no fear in her eyes like a few days ago. Ha ha ha. Then we'll go to the Shenyuan clan. Boss, isn't Zhon Wushuang fighting with you over sister-in-law? Let's go to the Shenyuan family to set the betrothal gift. Li Yuanba said with a silly smile. That's right. The first strike is the strongest. Shenyuan Li has only promised Zhon Wushuang verbally, but the battle family does not have a betrothal gift. Let's place the betrothal gift first. If Shenyuan nationality dares to reject, then my fat men Chen will be the first to not let him off. Chen Tianfei said in a domineering manner. This wasn't a betrothal gift, this was a stolen marriage. However, Shenyuan Li was not in the Shenyuan nationality. Long Fei did not want to sit still and wait for death. The 9 battle family divine S had fallen, now was the time to beat the crap out of them. Go to Shenyuan nationality. I also need to meet this father-in-law. Long Fei smiled slightly. Shenyuan nationality. One of the mysterious clans in Chaos Realm, his background is also very strong. Shenyuan ancestor was also a divine-level powerhouse. Moreover, the Shenyuan nationality carried a very strong power, but they did not know what that strong power was for a very long time. Boom. 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 The tower question of God roared loudly once again. Zhon Wushuang's entire body was drenched in sweat. He was flung out by the powerful God power. The blood in his entire body was boiling. He was extremely displeased. Zhon Wushuang roared in rage and said, Do you believe that I won't kill you? At this moment. Boom. The God's Tower S on the 100th floor suddenly opened. Shenyuan Li walked in and his expression changed. He trembled slightly. Junior sister Leah. Shenyuan Li had stepped into the 100th floor. He had finally caught up to Zhon Wushuang. Although the last few levels were deliberately arranged by Zhon Wushuang, it wouldn't be too hard for her to give him enough time due to her inherent skill. Shenyuan Li still maintained a cold expression in front of Zhon Wushuang. However, Zhon Wushuang was incomparably excited. Looking at Shenyuan Li's ice-cold expression, the idea moved, sending a sound transmission to a Zhon's elder. When we go back and get my father to hand over his bridal gift, even if I have to marry Shenyuan Li. Chapter 1582, You are not people from the same world. Chapter 1582, You are not people from the same world. Suddenly, even the Zhon's elder was stunned. He said he would get married at this time? Zhon Wushuang said with a sound transmission, the Shenyuan family has some background in the Chaos Realm, and we still have to give them face. Tell my father to prepare his bridal gift and tell him that the 2 of us will be married in the Tower Question of God. The 2 of us will enter the ancient holy battlefield. Ancient holy battlefield was something that he had to enter, but he didn't know if Shenyuan Li would still be alive after entering. Moreover, he had to obtain that power from Shenyuan Li's body. Marriage was the best pretense. To be able to deceive the Shenyuan nationality would save him a lot of trouble. The Zhon's elder immediately said, I will return to 9 Gloomy Valley immediately. Zhon Wushuang pondered for a moment, then said, Tell my father, I might be returning home, tell him to prepare the ancient holy artifact and spirit weapon. Zhon's elder nodded and said, Yes. Zhon Wushuang looked at Shenyuan Li and said, Junior sister Leah, I have been waiting for you here the entire time, and now you have finally come. This is the first time in thousands of years that this kind of situation has occurred. We have all stepped into the ancient holy battlefield at the same time, an immortal couple. Who wouldn't be jealous? I believe that this will become an ancient saying. Zhon Wushuang looked at Shenyuan Li's exceptional appearance, and in his heart, he was still a little unwilling to give up, and not willing to lose to Long Fei. No matter what, he was unwilling to lose. Shenyuan Li ignored him and walked to the front of the Saint Presbyter and bowed slightly. Disciple Shenyuan Li Saint requests your guidance. Saint Presbyter slightly nodded, and said, sit down and cultivate, I will pass on everything I have to you. Ignoring them? Was he air in front of her? Zhong Wushuang clenched his teeth, his eyes fiercely stared, and shouted, teaching what? What should he impart? Those things of yours are garbage. Saint Presbyter acted as if he did not hear it. His disregard made Zhong Wushuang even more furious. Zhong Wushuang's eyes flashed with a fierce light. He shouted, even you ignore me? You old thing, I have given you face, haven't I? You think I can't kill you just now when you beat me? Suddenly, Zhong Wushuang suddenly extended his hand, and a shield appeared in his hand. The Saint Elder frowned and said with a heavy tone, Zhong Wushuang, this is your last chance. If you fail to enter the ancient holy battlefield, you will not be able to. Do you want to challenge him now? The first floor had 10 chances. Zhong Wushuang had already lost 9 times, but he was not the least bit flustered. He even revealed an incomparably confident smile, and said, I will kill you. In that instant, the god's shield in Zhong Wushuang's hand moved. Wang. A loud explosion resounded. Saint Presbyter's expression suddenly changed. He had never seen such powerful strength before. Zhong Wushuang laughed sinisterly, tremble. But right at this moment, the tower question of God shook violently. Shua. The Saint Presbyter in the 100 layers of God's tower disappeared into thin air. As the target disappeared, the power on the god's shield directly broke through the god's tower. Golden light overflowed from all directions as a strong god power surged out crazily. In the clouds, Zhong Wushuang's eyes swept the area. Flee? It was also at this time. The tower question of God's tower master shouted, Wushuang. A strong pressure instantly pressed down, binding Zhong Wushuang's entire body and crushing him with divine might. Owner of tower question of God's body also instantly fell down. Beside him was the Saint Presbyter. Calm down. The owner of tower question of God bellowed, do you really think you can obtain power by doing this? Do you think you can break through the 100th level just by killing the saint? Can you mature a little? A single long fei can make you so agitated. How are you going to enter the ancient holy battlefield if your emotions are so unstable? You will only be cannon fodder if you enter. The owner of tower question of God had high expectations for Zhong Wushuang. He did not want Zhong Wushuang to be ruined before he could even enter the ancient holy battlefield. Shenyuan Li ignored him. The indifference of the Saint Presbyter, the reason behind all of this was ultimately because of Long Fei. Long Fei had become stronger, it had become extremely powerful, a strength that Zhong Wushuang was afraid of. Shenyuan Li's disregard caused him to instantly explode forth. After a few shouts, Zhong Wushuang's heart quickly calmed down and his mood recovered. He bowed in apology and said, Elder, I'm sorry. I was too reckless just now. The owner of tower question of God's tone recovered, and he said, don't think about anything else now, you just need to break through the 100th floor, you only have one last chance, I don't want to see you using a power that doesn't belong to you anymore, if not, you won't be recognized as someone who can break through the God's tower, and you won't get the God's power even more. Understood. Zhong Wushuang said, disciple understands. Owner of tower question of God looked at Shenyuan Li and then said, the two of you cultivate together, I hope that you can both break through the God's tower, and bring honor to Chaos Realm. As for Long Fei, owner of tower question of God looked at Zhong Wushuang. Shenyuan Li looked at owner of tower question of God. Then, he is no longer people of the same world as you. You are destined to become gods, and he is destined to be immortal for his entire life. Tower question of God was the only way to become a god other than using the divine tribulation hammer to condense divine sparks. And this road will forever be closed by Xiong Longfei. He would never be able to step into a tower question of God. The space between Shenyuan Li's brows tightened for a bit, and he secretly thought in his heart, Big brother Long Fei, no matter what you are, no matter what I am, once I break through this place, I will go find you. I don't want to become a god. Big brother Long Fei, you have to wait for me. Cloud Sky Valley, Shenyuan Prefecture. On a cliff was carved 2 words, Shenyuan. The edge of the sword was sharp, and it moved like a dragon. It was completed in one breath, just like the notes of a god. Long Fei raised his head to look at the 2 words Shenyuan on the cliff and faintly said in his heart, "How vast. Boss, this is Shenyuan Prefecture. Shenyuan tribe." Long Fei and the rest of the 10 stood outside the valley, enter the valley. Before he could finish, 2 Shenyuan tribesmen stopped Long Fei in his tracks and asked, "Who is it? How dare you trespass into the Cloud Sky Valley's territory?" The 2 of them wore golden armor. His body exuded an aura different from that of an ordinary martial artist. This aura contained traces of divine power. Even ordinary clansmen possessed divine power. Powerful. Long Fei slightly said, "I'm here to look for your patriarch." A Shenyuan disciple glanced at Long Fei and said, "Looking for the patriarch? Who are you? Why are you wasting time with him? Is our clan leader someone he can find whenever he wants? Brat, get the hell out of the Cloud Sky Valley's forbidden area, or don't blame me for being rude. They are Shenyuan tribesmen. To despise the existence of everything." However, when he said that, Li Yuanba was displeased. "You're being impolite. Then your father will not hold back for now." Chapter 1583 Our boss is coming to propose a marriage. Chapter 1583 Our boss is coming to propose a marriage. The giant spirit axe trembled. Li Yuanba took a step forward, boom. The innate divine strength in his body gave off a strong resonance. Coupled with his wild and powerful physique, it gave others a visual impact. It was really intrepid. The 2 Shenyuan nationality disciples trembled slightly, their hearts trembling, but they were not afraid, because they were Shenyuan tribesmen. The 2 of them stepped forward at the same time. "You're being impolite. Chumph, let's see how impolite you can be." The 2 of them released a strong sense of power from their bodies, and at the same time, they let out loud booms, the divine power sparkling faintly under their feet, becoming slightly stronger. At this moment, "Stop." A voice came from the forest far away, and as the voice fell, a middle-aged man's figure seemed to superimpose like 1,000 layers of illusions, blocking the 2 disciples. "Why aren't you stopping?" "Sixth Elder, they've come to the Cloud Sky Valley to behave atrociously." Shut up." Sixth Elder Shenyuan Yu stared at them and shouted for his 2 disciples to stop. He then looked at Long Fei and politely smiled. "Young Master Long Lord, our clan leader has invited you." The 2 disciples were stunned. They were curious to know how the 6th elder could treat Long Fei with such respect. "Young Master Long Lord? Who can be called Young Master Long Lord?" Long Fei replied politely, "Please lead the way." Shenyuan Yu immediately made an inviting gesture and said, "Please." At the same time, he immediately transmitted his voice to a disciple, "Immediately send a message to Zhon Clan with the 1,000-mile sound transmission technique. Tell them Long Fei is here." A disciple was surprised for a moment and lightly nodded his head. Long Fei did not know about any of these. Shenyuan nationality was in the Cloud Sky Valley, and there were heavenly dangers on both sides. This heavenly danger was also known as the Shenyuan Valley, and there was a thin path in the middle of the 2 sides of the valley. Both sides were as steep as knives. Apes and monkeys could not climb up, and birds could not fly over them. Moreover, with such a powerful airflow in the air, even if the powerhouse were to fly up, it would be difficult for him to control his body. This was a heavenly risk. Long Fei looked at the cliff on both sides and was secretly shocked. The 8 King Kong was equally shocked, especially Aoya. Her gaze never left the cliff on both sides. After a long while, she said, the cliff on both sides was split open by a sword. Shenyuan Yu's eyes widened in shock. He looked at Aoya and said, "Lady's eyesight is quite good. This Shenyuan Canyon was indeed split open by our Shenyuan ancestor's sword." Li Yuanba was shocked. It was split apart by a sword. So fierce. Shenyuan Yu was slightly pleased with himself as he said, "Shenyuan ancestors' attainments in the way of the sword are indeed very high. This sword technique is also known as the Sky Shatter Sword. Slashing out with a sword strike that would shatter the heaven and earth, creating an aura that would destroy the heavens and the earth. In the past, our ancestors killed a devil here with one sword strike. As Shenyuan tribesman, this was their pride. The Shenyuan ancestor was incomparably powerful. However, countless years had passed, and right now, they could only praise their ancestor. However, they were unable to cultivate and comprehend the true meaning of the Sky Shatter Sword, nor could they release that kind of heaven-shattering sword aura. Long Fei looked to his two sides, looked at the sky and said slightly, "This was not even hacked by a sword, but a sword aura. Shenyuan nationality's master is truly amazing." Looking at the two sides, Long Fei seemed to have thought of something, and the peerless glory of that sword seemed to have appeared in his mind. That kind of aura that could shock the entire world, that kind of majestic and domineering might that could pierce the heavens circulated in Long Fei's mind, as if he was present when this sword slashed out. Long Fei walked to Aoya's side and said in a low voice, "Carefully comprehend it. There is some kind of powerful sword intent hidden on these two cliffs." Aoya looked at Long Fei, her gaze becoming tense. She thought that she was the only one who noticed it. She didn't think that Long Fei had discovered it too, and he had discovered it even more than her. Oya nodded slightly. Passing through this thin Shenyuan canyon, his field of vision suddenly widened, and he saw a huge immortal estate in front of him. Immortal clouds shrouded the sky, and mountains overlapped each other in the sky. It looked like a paradise. Moreover, its aura was not the least bit weaker than the Tower Question of God. The most important point was that the surrounding spiritual energy was extremely dense, as though there was a spirit-gathering formation down there. Even Long Fei, who had his pubes shattered, could clearly feel it. The world of immortals is nothing special. Ahat said in shock. Shenyuan Yu smiled and said, "Please wait here, I'll go inform the others. There's no need to report. The patriarch is waiting at the Shenyuan Palace Hall." An elder walked over, he looked at Long Fei seriously, and said to Shenyuan Yu. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission to Shenyuan Yu, asking, "Have you sent someone to inform the Zhon clan?" Shenyuan Yu lightly nodded his head. That elder immediately laughed, and said, "Young Master Long Lord, it's been a very long time since you last came here. This time you have to stay as long as you want." On the surface, Long Fei smiled slightly, but in his heart, he muttered, "You make it sound like I really want to come often." The Shenyuan nationality had been hiding from the world. He had very little contact with the outside world, and very little contact with outsiders. Seeing Long Fei, 8 King Kong, Nangong Yang and the others entering Shenyuan Prefecture, many Shenyuan tribesmen came out to watch, looking at them strangely. "He is the young Master Long Lord. The man who is still alive under fate's judgment. Is the person beside him 8 King Kong? I heard that they were able to summon the god's suffering force, but I don't know if that's true or not. He looks just like an ordinary person. He's just an ordinary warrior. I didn't see anything different about him. Zhon Wushuang is more handsome." Many Shenyuan tribesmen started to discuss Long Fei's appearance. Li Yuanba said in a low voice, "Boss, you are truly famous. Even people here know about you." "Of course. Otherwise, how could he be our boss? It seems like there are people discussing us as well. Look, what about that girl over there? It's really pretty." Fat Men Chen laughed despicably. The Black Knife said, "Fatty, be careful, she might break your third leg. Look at where you are right now, no one here is weak, and they should have all cultivated God's power. Their ancestors should have been deities, and they were deities who instigated the divine tribulation to condense divine sparks." Indeed, the aura of every single person in Shenyuan tribesman was very dense, and even the aura of a 3-year-old child carried a faint divine power. The Shenyuan clan was once a race of gods. It was just that now that their master had fallen, their divine powers had gradually disappeared. 10 minutes later, Long Fei and the other 10 walked to the Shenyuan Palace Hall. A few elders and elders, as well as Patriarch Shenyuan Xiong, sat in the hall. Shenyuan Xiong looked at Long Fei and his eyes faintly tightened. He wanted to see through Long Fei as well, but he couldn't see anything. With a light smile, he said, "Little nephew Long Fei, you finally came to see Uncle Shenyuan." At this moment, one of the innermost elders said coldly, Why did you bring so many people to the Shenyuan prefecture? Li Yuanba laughed and said, our boss is here to propose. Chapter 1584, Left Slap, Right Slap. Chapter 1584, Left Slap, Right Slap. As soon as he finished, the entire hall suddenly became silent. Everyone was stunned. All eyes were on Long Fei. Li Yuanba laughed foolishly and said, ha ha ha. You must be scared. Boss, you really are mighty. The heavenly spirit touched Li Yuanba lightly and said, the situation isn't right. Fat Man Chen also looked at the people around him with a less friendly gaze. He slowly took half a step towards Long Fei. His first priority was to ensure Long Fei's safety. Li Yuanba scratched his head and said, what's wrong? Look at how shocked they are. They should all be happy, not to mention our boss has come to propose marriage with them, right? In Li Yuanba's world, Long Fei was the most handsome man in the world, and also the most eye-catching, most domineering, and most invincible. Whoever could marry Long Fei was truly a blessing from his previous life. However, Poochie. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The leading elder could not hold it in and took the lead to laugh out loud. He pointed at Long Fei and said, you're here to propose marriage? Ha ha. You think you're qualified to come here and propose marriage with me? Ha ha ha. Brat, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Look at what you're doing. What qualifications do you have to come here and propose marriage? I'm about to die from laughter. Long Fei, who do you think you are? To propose marriage? Our Shenyuan nationality does not have any sows. Even if we do have a sow, you do not even have the qualifications to marry the Shenyuan nationality sow. You really dare to think about it, to actually say it out loud? Many elders mocked. This time, Li Yuanba was unhappy. The god power on his body suddenly exploded, the giant spirit axe in his hands exposed a vicious light. He shouted loudly, you guys ***king call my boss again to try. As soon as he finished, the giant spirit axe also shook. Boom. Boom. The giant spirit axe landed on the ground and released a series of loud roars. It angrily swept across the whole area, and if anyone dared to mock Long Fei, he would really chop off with his axe. He wouldn't care so much. Kill one less. All the elders in the hall turned and looked at Li Yuanba. How many muscles do you have to dare act so atrociously here? Big fool, you? If you dare, try it. Let's see if you can leave this place alive. Shenyuan tribesman had never been afraid of anyone before. All of their eyes were filled with anger. When Li Yuanba took action, they would also do the same. Moreover, he would not hold back. Shenyuan Xiong coughed and said, enough. His voice sank. The entire hall quietened down, and Li Yuanba was pulled back by Long Fei. As long as Shenyuan Xiong did not express anything, it was fine. He was the head of the Shenyuan nationality. If he was laughing at him, it would be different. Long Fei took a step forward and said with a bland smile, Uncle Shenyuan, Leah and I have been engaged since we were young. I have come to propose marriage. I hope Uncle Shen will agree. As soon as he finished, the clan elder immediately stood up and coldly stared at Long Fei. Long Fei, you are a toad that wants to eat the swan meat. You must be crazy, right? Why don't you take a look at what you look like now? A stray dog. If it weren't for the fact that your ancestors had some relationship with our Shenyuan nationality, you wouldn't even have the right to stand here, understand? Heh. Before he could finish speaking, his eyes froze for a moment, because Long Fei had suddenly disappeared. It disappeared. At this moment. Crash. It was as if Long Fei came out from thin air, as he gave her a slap on the face. With a heavy roar, he said, your father has given you face, right? Pa. A slap on the face was incomparably loud. The elder was stunned, unable to react for a long time. He never thought that Long Fei would make a move here, and did not give him the slightest bit of face as Shenyuan nationality's great clan elder, and sent him flying with a slap. His old face was swollen. The 5-finger marks were clearly visible. The great clan elder's eyes burned with rage, instantly spitting out flames as he shouted, Long Fei, you dog, you actually dare to attack me. Pa. Just as the two words dog came out of his mouth, Long Fei slapped him down once again. The great elder's left cheek slapped once again. It was incomparably loud. Both cheeks were red and swollen. Long Fei stared at the great clan elder coldly and said, "So what if I hit you? What can you do? Did I propose to you? Who do you think you are? What right do you have to call me your father? If it wasn't for your age, I would have killed you." Long Fei said in a gloomy tone, his voice carried a strong pressure. "I'm so unhappy." Based on Long Fei's personality in the past, she would have directly killed him. The 5 finger marks on the great elder's cheeks became red and swollen. This time, it was not fire in his eyes, but his entire body. The god power on his body also released a strong pressure towards Xiong Longfei. "This is too presumptuous. Today, I will make you disappear from this world." Rumble. The main hall shook. Divine energy resonated. Li Yuanbar grinned and said, "Old man, you must be tired of living." The moment the giant spirit coffin on Li Yuanbar's body moved, red light immediately flickered with power, as if he had entered berserk mode. The rest of the 8 King Kongs also immediately moved. The strength in his body burst forth. For a time, they were at loggerheads. The smell of gunpowder was overwhelming. Long Fei was very calm, without even a hint of fear. His gaze was still unmoving while staring at the great clan elder. As long as he dared to make a move, Long Fei was confident in being able to instantly send him to hell. If even a divine-level powerhouse had died before, what was there to fear from a powerhouse who trained in divine power? Shenyuan Xiong's gaze darkened, and her voice became louder. She suddenly stood up and said, "Enough." He was furious. Shenyuan Xiong stared at the great clan elder and apologized. "Shenyuan Lai, apologize." The great clan elder raised his eyes and stared at Shenyuan Xiong. "Shenyuan Xiong, could it be that something is wrong with your brain? It was him who beat me up, and he wants me to apologize to him?" He went berserk. The moment these words left his mouth, the faces of many elders in the hall slightly changed. Insulting the clan leader? Shenyuan Xiong clenched his fists, and a strong pressure erupted from his body. Boom! It directly crushed into Shenyuan Lai's sea of consciousness, causing him to instantly be unable to endure it, and his body to tremble. Shenyuan Xiong said one word at a time, "I told you to apologize." It was extremely thick. The aura of a divine-level powerhouse. With regards to the Shenyuan Lai of the semi-realistic realm, he simply could not resist. Shenyuan Lai was indeed unable to resist it, and his body constantly bent, to the point of almost kneeling in front of Long Fei, as he said solemnly, "Young Master Long Lord, I'm sorry." His voice was filled with rage. Not an apology at all. However, that was enough. Once Shenyuan Xiong's imposing aura was released, Shenyuan Lai immediately let out a loud shout. He stared at Long Fei and said, "Brat, just you wait." Chapter 1585, Let's See Who Dares. Chapter 1585, Let's See Who Dares. The great elder flicked his sleeve and left the hall. Next. More than half of the elders in the hall retreated, while the other elders hesitated before retreating as well. Huff. Shenyuan Xiong exhaled a deep breath. His expression recovered to a slight smile as he looked at Long Fei and said, "Xiao Fei, the two of you follow me." This was the first time in many years that he had exploded with power. Moreover, the pressure it exuded was enough to suppress Shenyuan Lai, which was something that it would not have done in the past. Long Fei nodded and followed Shenyuan Xiong out, thinking to himself, "There's something wrong with many people in Shenyuan nationality." Li Yuanbar said in a low voice, "Boss, those 2 slaps felt so good." Long Fei glared at him. Shenyuan Xiong chuckled. It's the first time Shenyuan Lai has suffered so much. He won't let this matter go. Aoya replied, "You are the patriarch. Aren't you able to suppress him?" "Patriarch?" Shenyuan Xiong laughed bitterly. He shook his head and did not say anything more. A few minutes later, Shenyuan Xiong brought Long Fei to the courtyard of his residence. The courtyard was very simple and crude. Moreover, what Long Fei found strange was that as the leader of the clan, he didn't even have a servant. Shenyuan Xiong quickly closed the door, pulled Long Fei's arm and lowered his voice. "Long Fei, Quickly leave this place. Shen Yuan Lai will not let you off. Moreover, according to my calculations, Shen Yuan Lai will send someone to notify 9 secret warrior family, and you will not be able to escape then. All of you, hurry up and leave. The change happened too quickly. It was so fast that even Long Fei was a little unaccustomed to it. Long Fei was puzzled. Uncle Shen Yuan, you are the patriarch, why are you afraid of a great elder? In the hall, it is indeed too much for me to beat someone up, but they don't even put you in their eyes. Li Yuanbar said, Boss is right, if I were the patriarch, then I would slap them one by one, and these guys would be asking to be taken care of. I do not believe that I would not be able to suppress them. Very overbearing. Indeed, none of the elders in the palace held Shen Yuan Xiong in their eyes. Even Li Yuanbar could tell that Shen Yuan Xiong was not an idiot. How could he not know? Shen Yuan Xiong said, let's talk about this later, listen to me right now and immediately leave Shenyuan Prefecture, as far away as possible, never come back. Huh! Long Fei was stunned. Shenyuan Xiong hesitated for half a second, looked at Long Fei and continued, if it's possible, then. I hope you can save my daughter. What happened to Leah? It was as if they had touched Long Fei's sensitive nerves. When had gone to the Yuanyang clan to beg Zhong Wushuang for his sake, he had never let Shenyuan Leah get injured again. Shenyuan Xiong said, Zhong Wushuang wants to borrow the inheritance power of the Shenyuan clan to undergo the heavenly tribulation, use the heavenly tribulation to refine his divine spark, and then enter the ancient holy battlefield. Leah is just his container, only his tool. Quick, quick, quick. This useless father of mine, push her into the fire pit. Shenyuan Xiong firmly grabbed onto Long Fei's arm and said, Long Fei, you are Leah's only hope right now. Leave this place quickly, and take advantage of the fact that no one from the Zhong clan has arrived. He only found out about this later. In the beginning, he had never suspected Zhong Wushuang, nor did he suspect the Zhong clan's sudden approach. But, ever since he had read in a family tree that the Shenyuan clan had inherited this powerful power, and this power originated from Emperor Shenyuan. This kind of power could help people overcome heavenly tribulation. Furthermore, it would not affect his training at all. Once they broke through the tower question of God, Zhong Wushuang would bring Shenyuan Li to enter the ancient holy battlefield, and their power to undergo tribulation in the God battlefield would be even more extraordinary. The more powerful the celestial tribulation was, the more powerful the divine spark's power would be. Moreover, crossing tribulation in the ancient holy battlefield would certainly cause a huge commotion, and would even attract the attention of the main temple S. If that was the case, it could be said that Zhong Wushuang would soar into the sky. But Shenyuan Li would only become a cripple. The current Shenyuan Xiong was regretting it every day, regretting letting his daughter enter the tower question of God. He shouldn't have let her get so close to Zhong Wushuang. The only hope he had left was for Shenyuan Li to survive. Long Fei's heart tensed up, his fists tightened, and he shouted, Zhong Wushuang. The flames of fury burned. Shenyuan Xiong said, Long Fei, you are the only one who has been to the tower question of God. You can definitely save Leah. Long Fei nodded. Uncle Xiong, don't worry, I will definitely save Leah. Shenyuan Xiong had placed all his hope on Long Fei and now, he was going to use all his strength to protect Long Fei. He absolutely could not let anything go wrong with Long Fei. And then, Shenyuan Xiong said, follow me, I will bring you out of the valley. At this moment, clang. With a loud noise, the door to the courtyard was kicked down. Shenyuan Lai rushed in with his men and sneered sinisterly, you want to leave? None of you can leave without my permission. Shenyuan Lai's eyes spewed fire. He stared straight at Shenyuan Xiong. The aura on Shenyuan Xiong's body exploded as he heavily shouted, Shenyuan Lai, you want to rebel? Humph. Shenyuan Xiong, I'm a rebel, what can you do to me? If not for the fact that you had a relatively talented daughter and the people of Zhong clan took a fancy to your daughter, do you think you would be qualified to be the patriarch of Shenyuan nationality? Shenyuan Lai sneered. At the same time, he took out an order badge and said, Shenyuan Xiong, listen up. The people from the Shenyuan nationality instantly kneeled on the ground. Shenyuan Xiong's face darkened. Shenyuan token. Shen Yuan Lai laughed complacently, and said, "Not bad, to be able to recognize this is the Shen Yuan token. Since you know of the Shen Yuan token, then kneel down obediently for me." Shen Yuan token. The order badge left behind by the master. The power level of the Grand Elder's Pavilion. The Shen Yuan token represented the highest authority in the Shen Yuan nationality. Now that the Shen Yuan token was in Shen Yuan Lai's hands, he stood above the patriarch. If he did not kneel, it would be disrespectful, and the consequences would be extremely serious. Shen Yuan Xiong had no choice but to kneel down. Shen Yuan Lai laughed loudly, "Ha ha ha. Shen Yuan Xiong, will you kneel to me one day? This kind of feeling sure is unpleasant." "Ha ha ha." He laughed complacently. Shen Yuan Xiong said solemnly, "Shen Yuan Lai, if you have something to say, just say it." "All right." Shen Yuan Lai said coldly, "The Elder's Pavilion has decreed that the position of Patriarch will be removed and Shen Yuan Lai will temporarily take over as the head of the Shen Yuan nationality. Everything will be decided by Shen Yuan Lai. Shen Yuan Xiong is not allowed to interfere." "Heh heh. Shen Yuan Xiong, you are no longer the clan leader." Shen Yuan Xiong's gaze tensed up. He had thought that Shen Yuan Lai would join hands with the elders to revoke his patriarch, but he had not expected it to happen so quickly. And then, Shen Yuan Lai stared coldly at Long Fei, and said, "Brat, I told you to wait properly, and slap me twice. I want to slap you back 200 times. Someone, come, take them down." It was also at this time that Shen Yuan Xiong yelled out, "Let's see who dares." Chapter 1586, Exiting the Mountain. Chapter 1586, Exiting the Mountain. I want to see who dares. With an angry roar, Shen Yuan Xiong's divine might exploded forth once more. The entire yard shook slightly. It instantly crushed everything in its path. Shen Yuan Lai's gaze darkened, and said, "Shen Yuan Xiong, you are no longer the clan leader. I am the one in charge here. Are you thinking of rebelling?" This sentence was originally said by Shen Yuan Xiong, but now it was turn to say it. Shen Yuan Xiong said, "He is my nephew. I will not allow anyone to touch him." He had to protect Long Fei. Protecting Long Fei meant that his daughter had another hope. Shen Yuan Lai's eyes turned sinister. He laughed coldly and said, "Your nephew? Ha ha ha. You call him your nephew? Back then when 9 secret warrior family cleansed Hellgate, why didn't you say that he was your nephew? At that time, you clearly knew what the Zhong clan was doing. Why didn't you inform Long Fei? Your nephew? Why do I feel so ridiculous?" Shen Yuan Xiong's face darkened. Shen Yuan Lai laughed. "Why aren't you talking? Long Fei, you still don't know?" He knew about everything that happened the night before Hellgate met with the tragic end, but he had absolutely no intention to notify you, and he had even stopped Shen Yuan Li. "If I had notified him at that time, the Hellgate wouldn't have become like this." Shen Yuan Lai laughed. He smiled at Long Fei, certain that he would be angry. However, Long Fei was not the least bit angry, and his gaze did not move at all. Shen Yuan Lai said, "Why aren't you angry at all? You have to know that you were once the young master of Hellgate." Long Fei said indifferently, "Why should I be angry? Does the life and death of Hellgate have anything to do with me? Hellgate. He almost died in Hellgate. If he had been the young master of the Hellgate all along, he probably wouldn't even know how he died. If he had stayed in Hellgate, he might really be dead now." Long Fei said, "I would have to thank Uncle Shen Yuan for not informing me back then, otherwise I would have died a long time ago." Shen Yuan Lai was stunned. He did not understand. Was this man stupid? Shen Yuan Xiong said slightly, "Long Fei, I was in the wrong at the time. I should have informed you." Long Fei said, "There's really no need. It's better if you don't notify me, else I won't be able to live past today." Long Fei was sincere. Shen Yuan Xiong could also tell. However, Shen Yuan Lai was very unhappy, and said, "I don't care if you live or die, Long Fei, today, I must take you down." Shen Yuan Xiong blocked in front of him and said, "Shen Yuan Lai, I want to see who dares to touch him." He felt guilty about the past, and now he had to make up for it. Shen Yuan Lai's eyes turned sinister. He laughed coldly. "Shen Yuan Xiong, you think that I can't do anything because you're a divine-level cultivator? You'd better figure out who is the clan leader now. If you continue to be so stubborn, don't blame me for not thinking about our kinship. Shen Yuanlai's voice was filled with killing intent, and the few elders around him were also staring at him like tigers stalking their prey. Deities were indeed terrifying. But this is the Shen Yuan nationality. The clan elders in the pavilion were all divine-level experts. They were all much stronger than Shen Yuanxiong. Shen Yuanxiong responded with a cold laugh. Shen Yuanlai, when have you ever thought about the feelings of fellow clansmen, and when have you ever looked down on me? If you dare touch Long Fei today, I will definitely not be polite. His eyes were determined. Shen Yuanlai's gaze darkened as he clenched the Shen Yuan token in his hands tightly. Grand Elder. Boom. He gave the order. A black shadow instantly descended. Rumble. Falling in front of Shen Yuanxiong, without waiting for Shen Yuanxiong's reaction, he slapped his face hard, shouted, Shen Yuanxiong, I'm so disappointed in you. Shen Yuanxiong's body sank, and he almost fell to the ground. Looking at the old man in front of him, he shouted, Master, Humph. I don't have a picky disciple like you. The old man disdained. He then stared at Long Fei and said, I will give you two choices, or die now. You can either wait for the people from Zhong clan to come, then you can leave with them. There's no other choice. Shen Yuanlai laughed complacently. Looking at Shen Yuanxiong, whose face had fallen on the ground, he was extremely pleased with himself. Shen Yuanxiong said, Master, 9 secret warrior families' ambitions are too high, and they are using our Shen Yuan nationality and they are using the Shen Yuan nationality's power that was inherited from Leah to undergo the tribulation. We cannot become other people's pawns, Without waiting for Shen Yuanxiong to finish speaking, the old man shouted, Shut up. With that voice, he pressed heavily onto Shen Yuanxiong's sea of consciousness, causing Shen Yuanxiong's body to tremble. At this moment, Long Fei said indifferently, I choose to wait for the people from Zhong clan, then I will leave with the people from Zhong clan. Shen Yuanxiong's gaze froze for a moment as he anxiously replied. Long Fei, you. Long Fei said, Uncle Xiong, the reason why I came to Shen Yuan nationality is to propose marriage, and the other reason is to look for the position of the 9 secret warrior family. Since they will come, then I will wait for them here. Shen Yuanlai laughed and said, Brat, you made your choice. He laughed inwardly. Long Fei's strength was not simple. The 8 King Kong's God's suffering force was not something to be reckoned with. If they were to fight, there would definitely be casualties. If Long Fei could calmly wait for the people from Zhong clan to come, then things would be much easier. The great clan elder said, All right. Then I won't touch you today, but Brat, I'm warning you, don't play any tricks. Otherwise, the consequences will be much worse than what you imagine. As soon as he finished, the Grand Elder flashed. Shen Yuanlai laughed complacently, looked at Shen Yuanxiong and said, Just wait and see how the Zhong clan will take care of you. Someone, come. Watch this yard. Don't let even a fly fly out. Ha ha ha. Shen Yuanlai laughed loudly as he walked out of the courtyard. Shen Yuanxiong looked at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, you cannot stay here. You have killed 9 Zhong clan Grand Elders. The Zhong clan will definitely not let you off this time. Long Fei laughed. It's me who will not let him go. Shen Yuanli was in grave danger at the tower question of God. But now, Long Fei's only thought of way to save Shen Yuanli was to surround Wei and save Zhao, force the 9 secret warrior family to a dead end, and make Zhon Wushuang appear. Kill. This naturally resolved Shen Yuanli's crisis. Warhouse. I'll wait for you here. Long Fei smiled slightly. He was really afraid that the powerhouse would not come. Li Yuanbar and the other King Kong both laugh. All right. Send 1,000 Li sound transmission to Shen Yuanlai. Tell him to stop looking at Long Fei. I will bring my men there immediately. Zhon Tiantu laughed excitedly. At this moment, an old man with white hair walked out, looked at Zhon Tiantu and asked, Did you find Long Fei that brat, ancestors of Zhon's? Chapter 1587, This Guy Makes Me Sick. Chapter 1587, This Guy Makes Me Sick. Shen Yuanlai's courtyard. An elder walked into the courtyard with a smile and said, First Elder. Patriarch. Hearing the word patriarch, Shenyuan Lai could not help but let out a proud smile. He had worked hard for this position for so many years. Now he had achieved his dream. And he had finally stepped on Shenyuan Xiong. In Shenyuan Lai's heart, this position should originally belong to him. If Shenyuan Xiong didn't have a good daughter, how could it possibly be Shenyuan Xiong's turn? Shenyuan Li I must not go back to the Shenyuan nationality. She was Shenyuan Xiong's last trump card. If she suddenly came back after breaking through the limit of the God's Tower, then he definitely wouldn't be able to keep his position as the patriarch. Shenyuan Lai asked, "What's the matter?" The elder answered, "I just received a 10,000 li sound transmission. Zhong Tiantu has already sent someone over, and told us to stall Long Fei." "All right." Hearing this news, Shenyuan Lai's eyes flashed. He was extremely excited, and muttered, "As long as you hug the battle house tightly, you don't have to worry about anything else. Shenyuan Xiong, this time I will definitely trample you to death." Ha ha ha. Shenyuan Lai laughed complacently. Inside Shenyuan Xiong's courtyard. He didn't understand Long Fei's choice. He was still constantly thinking of a way to send him out. However, Li Yuanba said with an honest smile, "Uncle Shenyuan, the reason why boss is here is to propose marriage, and the second is to find out the location of 9 secret warrior family." Shenyuan Xiong asked doubtfully, "What do you want to know the location of the 9 secret warrior family for?" The 9 secret warrior family was extremely secretive. It was extremely difficult to find. However, but Shenyuan nationality was very clear about the exact location of the 9 secret warrior family. Long Fei laughed blandly. 2 words, revenge. Shenyuan Xiong was stunned. Long Fei said, "Uncle, don't worry." Shenyuan Xiong looked at Long Fei. That calm gaze of his calmed the nervousness in his heart. After being stunned for a few seconds, Shenyuan Xiong said, 9 secret warrior family is much more powerful than you can imagine. The truly terrifying existences of the 9 secret warrior family were not them, but the powerhouse who had condensed his own divine spark. They were the true terrifying existences. Also, the 9 secret borders has an inexhaustible supply of power. With your current strength, it is difficult for you to resist. Shenyuan Xiong understood Zhong clan better than Long Fei. Understand the 9 secret borders. The Zhong clan's strength was not as simple as 9 grand elders. Those old freaks were the true terrifying existences. Long Fei said, "No matter how powerful he is, I will still trample over him." The change in the second stage of the main artifact. He even had over 1,000 ancient spiritual artifact and ancestors of Zhon's. "As long as you dare to come up with a stick to send you to heaven." Long Fei was fearless. Long Fei changed the topic as he looked at Shenyuan Xiong. "Uncle, how did the one-line heaven in Shenyuan Valley form? I feel that there's some kind of profound martial arts hidden inside." Shenyuan Xiong trembled, and said, "That was slashed out by our Shenyuan nationality's soaring master, rumored to be hiding a sword technique. One move can make the god slaughtering sword." But Shenyuan Xiong laughed bitterly and said, "Ever since our Shenyuan tribesman ascended to master, no one has been able to comprehend any sword techniques from it." Long Fei thought, seems like even Shenyuan Xiong does not know that the one-line heaven was not hacked out by a sword, but by a sword aura. And then, Long Fei said, "Uncle, can you let us go to heaven?" Aoya looked at Long Fei. Her mind was full of the cliffs on both sides, as if they had been cut. However, she could not comprehend anything. What could she comprehend just from the 2 sides of the cliff and the grand and imposing aura? Shenyuan Xiong said, "All right, although I am not the clan leader now, I still have this bit of authority." And then, Shenyuan Xiong walked out of the courtyard. He was immediately stopped by 2 disciples. "Clan leader, you cannot leave this place." "What clan leader? He's no longer the clan leader." "Shenyuan Xiong, you can't leave this courtyard." Not waiting for him to finish, Shenyuan Xiong's eyes stared wide open. With a slap, he smashed him to the ground. "You dare talk to me like that? With just you? Can you stop me?" Another disciple broke out in a cold sweat. This was completely different from the Shenyuan Xiong from before. Shenyuan Xiong ignored the disciples who were sprawled on the ground like dead dogs. and led Long Fei towards the Heavens Line cave. Quick, quick, go inform the patriarch, tell him that Shenyuan Xiong is escaping. Long Fei, the Sky Shatter sword did not have any determination, nor did it have any specific sword technique. It seems to have nothing, only a thread of the sky from this sword strike. It's too difficult to comprehend a sword art from within. Shenyuan Xiong brought Long Fei and walked to the Line Canyon. Looking at the cliffs on both sides, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart about how the master had done it. He had comprehended it back in the gorge, but for a month, his head was full of fog, and he didn't have a clue. Long Fei did not say anything. He looked at the cliff on both sides and was shocked once again. This sword chi is truly powerful. If the sword chi is so strong, then this sword chi technique. God slaughtering? This move can really kill a god. Aoya confidently looked at every single place. The sword intent in her mind seemed to be burning. Shenyuan Xiong looked in the direction of the sky's exit and his heart tightened. He said in a low voice, Long Fei, there's only a little way out of the valley right now. Humph. Shenyuan Xiong, I long since knew that you knew how to run. Boom. Boom. There were several explosive sounds as golden rays of light flashed and blocked the entire canyon. The golden light was so dazzling that it was unable to open. Shenyuan Golden Light Array? Shenyuan Xiong's expression changed as he shouted, Shenyuan Lai, what do you want to do? The Shenyuan Golden Light Array can only be used in times of crisis. It's extremely important to the Shenyuan nationality. You. Humph. Shenyuan Lai coldly snorted, and said, I am now the patriarch, and can do whatever I want. What qualifications do you have to control me? Huh. Shenyuan Xiong, let me give you a word of advice. Scram and get the hell back, otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. The Battle family allowed him to stall Long Fei, and could not let him leave. He would definitely not let Long Fei leave. His current backer was Zhon family. This matter must be handled well. Shenyuan Xiong's eyes became sinister as he said, what if I don't return? Ha! The disciples of the Golden Array trembled as they moved the golden shields in their hands. The golden light was even more dazzling than before, causing them to be unable to open their eyes. Even their brains had sunk into chaos. Brain wave interference. Shenyuan Lai laughed coldly and said, you can try. Li Yuanbar muttered, boss, do you want to make a move? This guy is really annoying. Chapter 1588, God-Slaughtering Sword. Chapter 1588, God-Slaughtering Sword. Li Yuanbar was unhappy. If he was unhappy, he wanted to make a move. Long Fei shook his head slightly. He walked forward and faintly smiled as he said, Zhon clan's intention should be for you to not let us out, right? Shenyuan Lai looked at Long Fei with contempt, and a painful expression appeared on his face. He firmly remembered those 2 slaps of grudges in his heart. He sneered, that's right. Since you know, then scram back. Li Yuanbar could not bear to listen any longer. He shouted, why don't you try talking to my boss with this kind of tone, and see if I can't kill you? His aura fluctuated. Releasing his powerful and pure energy, the giant spirit coffin on his back started to tremble, staring straight at Shenyuan Lai with anger in its eyes. A strong sense of oppression. Shenyuan Lai's mind slightly shivered, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Li Yuanbar's aura was extremely intrepid. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, don't scare people. The Shenyuan nationality, right? I just want to take a look at the scenery here and experience the beauty of your Shenyuan nationality. Is that all right? I promise I won't take a step out of Shenyuan prefecture. Long Fei said indifferently. He won't go out if you let him out. He would wait here for the War's family. It was just that. He was extremely interested in this Sky Shatter sword and wanted to know what sword moves were behind this sword. Shenyuan Lai looked at Long Fei, then at 8 King Kong, and thought that if they really fought, even if he did not lose, he would have to pay the price. He was the one who had used the Shenyuan Golden Light Array to scare Shenyuan Xiong. If he used it, it would definitely attract the Elder Pavilion's attention. Immediately, Shenyuan Lai said, how do I know if what you said is true? Long Fei looked at Li Yuanbar, Shenyuan Xiong, and the others. Uncle, Yuan Ba, you guys go back first. Oya, stay. Li Yuanba immediately became worried, and said, Boss. The other King Kong also started to worry for Long Fei. Long Fei laughed, who can do anything to me? Wait for me at Uncle's place. Go. Shenyuan Xiong exhaled a breath of relief in his heart. He wanted to persuade Long Fei to give up. Moreover, this sword intent was originally created by the Shenyuan tribesman, so outsiders would not be able to comprehend it. However, in the end, he didn't say it out loud. Shenyuan Lai watched Shenyuan Xiong and the 7 King Kongs leave, and said to Long Fei faintly, Long Fei, you better behave yourself, as you cannot leave this place. Long Fei smiled but did not reply. Not long after, Shenyuan Lai left with the golden array. The world was suddenly quiet. Long Fei looked at Aoya and asked, Did you manage to comprehend anything? Aoya shook her head. No, it is too profound. It has already exceeded my understanding. Long Fei held her hand and gently said, Don't be in such a rush, take your time. We have plenty of time. Aoya looked at Long Fei, her face full of happiness as she felt the warmth from Long Fei's palm. Then, Aoya sat cross-legged. The aura of sword intent around her body surged. Sword spirits surged through the void like spirit bodies descending into every corner of the sky. The sword intent absorbed by the sword spirit gushed into his mind. This was a unique cultivation method that belonged to the sword force King Kong. Long Fei, on the other hand, was walking back and forth in the canyon, occasionally looking into the distance and occasionally turning his head back to look. What are they doing in the canyon? Shenyuan Lai asked. I don't know. But from the looks of it, they seem to be training. Shenyuan Yu suddenly thought of something, and said, Patriarch, when I brought them into the valley, I told them about the legends of the Sky Shatter Sword. The two of them couldn't have wanted the true essence of the other Sky Shatter Sword, right? Silence. 3 seconds later. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Everyone laughed. Shenyuan Lai laughed, comprehending the true meaning of Sky Shatter Sword. Ha ha ha. Just with them. This is simply too funny. None of us in the Shenyuan nationality have comprehended the true meaning of the Sky Shatter Sword, and the two of them want to comprehend as well. Why don't you take a look at what you are? Sky Shatter Sword is just a legend of the Shenyuan nationality. I suspect that there is no such sword technique. This is so funny. Millions of years. Even the Shenyuan tribesman herself had no choice but to doubt the existence of the Sky Shatter Sword. Because no one had ever been able to comprehend the sword style of the Sky Shatter Sword before. That was even more impossible. After laughing for a long time, Shenyuan Lai faintly said, I don't care what he comprehends, in short, I cannot let him out. The Zhon clan will need 3 days to travel to this place. Before the Zhon clan powerhouse arrives, you must definitely look after them. Shenyuan Lai said heavily. Long Fei was now his trump card to hold Zhon clan tightly. It was his bargaining chip that had trampled Shenyuan Xiong to death. The Jedi couldn't let this go easily. Everyone shouted in unison, Yes, sir. Beneath the stars, Long Fei looked up at the sky. A straight line was like a galaxy. He had never seen the sky like this before. It was very special, and he felt a strange feeling surging up within his heart. Aoya gently leaned against Long Fei's shoulder and held Long Fei's arm. Her heart was like a dream and she had never been this relaxed before. The two of them snuggled up to each other quietly, neither of them speaking. At this moment, Long Fei was thinking about Jojo, about the leopard girl, about Liu Luoshi, about thousands of things. He was thinking about the dragon ancestor, about the brothers in the Long family. The level 10 gods martial sect was still lacking. This was a hurdle that had to be broken through by the divine level. Long Fei silently said in his heart, Wait for me, I will definitely bring you all to this world as soon as possible. Suddenly, a meteor streaked past. From one end of the sky to the other. Long Fei's eyes suddenly moved. Aoya seemed to have sensed something as the two of them looked at each other. Meteor. Sword intent. Instantly. At the same time, the two of them entered the space where the sword intent resided. Long Fei turned his right hand over, and the sword of destroy appeared in his hand. Next, step by step, the sword intent began to dance about. As the flame flickered, the sword intent surrounded the body like rays of light. This feeling was very different. This was a feeling of sword intent that Long Fei had never experienced before. It was as if he was above everything else, as if he was looking from the perspective of God. 3 days passed quickly. In the evening, when the 5 members of the Zhon clan arrived outside the Cloud Sky Valley, a white-haired old man's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, "Shenyuan Prefecture. It's been a long time since I've been here." And then, the old man asked, "Are the betrothal gifts ready? I will arrange Wu Shuang's marriage properly. As for Long Fei, I want to play slowly." Do you know the consequences of refusing me? Do you know the consequences of refusing me? Woo! The welcome horn sounded. The welcoming party on both sides of the valley was over 100 meters long. Over 300 hands raised their horns, blowing it with all their strength, just like a soldier on a battlefield. Powerful and extraordinary. The decorations were exquisite and gorgeous, as if it was the new year. Shenyuan Lai stood at the forefront with a face full of smiles, and silently thought in his heart, "Finally here we come, ha ha ha. It's finally here." The 5 Zhon's elder S stepped into the Cloud Sky Valley. Shenyuan Lai was the first to welcome them, saying, "Welcome, honorable guest of Zhon clan." The white-haired old man's face was ice-cold, not a single trace of happiness because of the Shenyuan nationality's welcoming ceremony. As he watched Shenyuan Lai walk over, he said coldly, "After so many years, there's still not even a single change to Shenyuan Prefecture." His voice was filled with contempt. Shenyuan Lai was startled, then immediately smiled apologetically. "An elder came to Shenyuan Prefecture before?" The letter slightly said, "I have." At that time, the Shenyuan nationality was just like this. I never thought that it would still be the same after so many years. And then, he gazed at a faraway innate valley and said, "A first-rate sky canyon was split open by your master Shenyuan. It contains an incomparably profound sword technique. Shenyuan nationality leader, I want to know if anyone in your Shenyuan tribesman has managed to comprehend the true meaning of this sword technique after so many years." He asked even though he already knew the answer. Was humiliating the Shenyuan nationality. Shenyuan nationality and 9 secret warrior family were families of the same rank. At that time, they both came out of divine level powerhouse, but after that, their battle homes became weaker and weaker as the master continued to soar. But the ancestors of Zhon's was different. After entering the ancient holy battlefield and entering the divinity, although he died in the end, he found a secret world for the Zhon clan. He kept all the souls of the divine-level powerhouse in the secret world. Even more so, it was the colossal dragon. It was also because of these families that they were getting stronger and stronger, while the Shenyuan nationality was getting weaker and weaker. Shenyuan Lai smiled apologetically, and said, "No. Hee. The battle letter sneered and said, "I told you at that time that the Sky Shatter Sword's teleportation was just a conversation story. It is impossible for your Shenyuan master to comprehend such a profound sword technique while he is in the midst of ascension. What do you mean god slaying? You can't even kill a ghost, yet you want to kill a god? Shenyuan nationality leader, do you think I'm right?" The battle letter turned to look at Shenyuan Lai. He was humiliating master. Even a fool would be able to hear it. No matter how stupid the surrounding elders were, no one dared to refute. Because battle letter's aura was extremely rich in gold light. He was a divine-level powerhouse, a true divine-level powerhouse who had comprehended and condensed his own divine spark. Shenyuan Lai laughed, "Elder is right. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha." The letter laughed. The 4 Zhon's elder S behind him also began laughing loudly. Shenyuan Lai also started to smile apologetically, and the surrounding elders also started to laugh along. How could he laugh while humiliating the Shenyuan nationality? In his battle confidence, he sneered and thought, "Shenyuan nationality, ha ha ha, has become a dog walker." This was because the Zhon clan was so powerful. The battle letter laughed lightly and said, "Let's go, Bring us to see that brat Shenyuan Xiong and Long Fei. Sky Shatter Sword. Ha ha ha. It's just a joke. The letter laughed again, looking at the cliffs on either side of the canyon, at the line of sky above. What he was laughing at was not this sword technique, but the Shenyuan nationality that had existed for millions of years. He couldn't even comprehend something from the master in millions of years. He was just a bunch of trash. Shenyuan Lai immediately led the way. So what if they were laughed at? So what if his family had been humiliated? What he wanted to do was to stomp on Shenyuan Xiong, and he needed to borrow the Zhon clan's strength. Even if the war letter was to make him eat shit, he probably wouldn't hesitate at all. Then again, Shenyuan nationality had long ago stopped being on equal footing with the battle family. They were not on the same level at all. Just the dense golden light on the battle letter was able to crush the entire Shenyuan nationality. Even if he was displeased, so what? This world was the world of the powerhouse. Weak. No status at all. Half an hour later, Shenyuan Lai and battle letter came outside Shenyuan Xiong's courtyard. At this moment, 8 King Kong, Long Fei, Nangong Yang, and Shenyuan Xiong were in the courtyard. Shenyuan Lai walked into the courtyard with a pleased sneer on his face when he saw Shenyuan Xiong. He shouted, "Shenyuan Xiong, why aren't you bowing when you see Zhon's elder?" Shenyuan Xiong said, "Shenyuan Lai, are you used to being a dog? Even if Zhon Tiantu comes, you don't have the qualifications to get us to salute him. As his patriarch, you actually saluted to an outsider. You sure are giving the Shenyuan nationality face." Shenyuan Lai's gaze turned cold as he said, "You're not the one who should teach me a lesson for what I'm doing." The battle letter looked at Long Fei first, and its gaze turned cold. Then, it looked at Shenyuan Xiong and said indifferently, "The reason I'm here today is for Wu Shuang's marriage. Take out the betrothal gift." And then, Zhon's elder took out the betrothal gift that was prepared by the space ring. 3-sword holy artifact. There was also a pile of soul treasures. A phoenix with a red crown. Very delicate, but, to the Shenyuan nationality, these betrothal gifts were too shabby, and could not even enter his eyes. Shenyuan Xiong didn't even look at it and said, "Unfortunately, before you all, I had already promised Long Fei that since he was young, he and Li Lia have been engaged. Once Lia comes out from the God's Tower, they will be married. The key point. What Lia likes is Long Fei. As her father, I should think about her happiness. Elder Zhon, it's better for you to bring back those precious betrothal gifts with you, since those things are really too precious. I'm almost scared to death." Shenyuan Xiong said coldly, "How dare you?" Zhon's elder was instantly angered and shouted, "You dare to talk to our clan elders in such a manner? Shenyuan Xiong, are you sick of living?" The war letter slightly waved his hand, signaling for the elder to stop. He looked at Shenyuan Xiong and said, "You don't think that the betrothal gift is heavy enough, right?" Immediately, the battle letter idea took out a long and thin sword from the space ring and said, "I heard that your daughter likes to use swords, so this holy bone sword should be heavy enough, right?" A golden light flashed. This was an extremely powerful divine sword made from the Yellow Springs holy bone. The entire courtyard was filled with the Yellow Springs sword intent, which was as sinister as the descent of hell. "Is this good enough?" The letter of war continued to speak. If it wasn't for Zhon Wushuang, he definitely wouldn't have done such a thing. Why should I give Shenyuan nationality face? Shenyuan Lai's gaze tensed up. If Shenyuan Xiong agreed, the battle family would definitely give their all to support Shenyuan Xiong. They started to worry secretly. Shenyuan Xiong smiled slightly and said, "Elder Zhon, many thanks for your good intentions. Please go back and tell Wu Shuang that my daughter really doesn't like him. Even if you give the entire Chaos Realm to me, my daughter still wouldn't choose him." Suddenly, Zhon Xin's gaze chilled as he whispered, "Do you know the consequences of rejecting me?" Chapter 1590 You Will Dig Up. Chapter 1590 You Will Dig Up. His voice was cold and filled with incredible pressure. The entire courtyard was being pressured by his aura and Shenyuan Xiong's mind was trembling. Shenyuan Xiong's cultivation was at the divine level. However, he was a fused divine spark, and this divine spark had been given to him by the Zhon clan. The divine-level cultivation obtained by the Blend for Godhead was not on the same level as the person who condensed the divine spark from his tribulation, not to mention the peak powerhouse Zhon Xin. They were both at the deity level. Shenyuan Xiong simply could not resist it. This was the difference between fusing with the divine spark he himself had condensed. Reject me. Zhon Xin's voice became gloomy again as he stared coldly at Shenyuan Xiong. Do you know what the consequences are? Sweat rolled down Shenyuan Xiong's forehead. His entire body was drenched in a few seconds, and his body couldn't help but start trembling. At this moment, he didn't even have the courage to look directly at the war letter. The cold eyes were terrible. Just when he was about to speak, Wang, a sword chime sounded. A sword fell in front of battle letter. Long Fei's body slightly moved, and said, "It's just a Yellow Springs holy bone sword. How can you take out a betrothal gift like that? They say that the Zhon clan is strong, that the Zhon clan is rich, and that they have countless soul treasures. But now, it seems that they are too stingy, no?" The aura of the war letter suddenly retracted. As he stared at the sword in front of him, his gaze tightened. Azura sword. "You have a good eye." Long Fei grinned and smiled faintly. This was the Azura sword that he had revealed after killing the Death Shora. Long Fei laughed. "Even if you have a broken sword, you still want to propose marriage. Don't you feel shabby?" The war letter's expression changed. Indeed. If he wanted to compete in Azura sword, the holy bone sword he brought with him was indeed a bit shabby. The war letter smiled, looked at Long Fei, and said, "This is your betrothal gift. Are you here to propose as well?" The battle letter looked at Long Fei without moving. Long Fei said, "Is that not possible? Do I only need you to come and propose marriage? Can't I come?" Battle channel. "Are you sure you want to steal Zhon Wushuang's woman?" Long Fei said, "I'm sure, what's wrong?" War letter's gaze turned towards Shenyuan Xiong, and asked, "What is your choice?" Shenyuan Xiong tried his best to control his own aura and calm down. Just as he was about to speak, the war letter suddenly reminded him, "You better think carefully before you speak. Because your decision will determine the fate of Shenyuan nationality." A strong sense of oppression struck him. Shenyuan Xiong's gaze darkened. Shenyuan Lai's body also shook slightly, and immediately said, "What is there to think about?" Shenyuan Li and young Master Wushuang is a match made in heaven. There's no need to choose at all. Shenyuan Lai was very worried. He was worried that he would suffer too. The letter glared at him and said coldly, "Did I allow you to speak?" Shenyuan Lai immediately lowered his head, not daring to say another word. On one side was his daughter, and on the other was the entire Shenyuan nationality. Shenyuan Xiong had a hard choice in his heart. The power of the war letter could really massacre the entire Shenyuan nationality. At this moment, many elders and disciples of Shenyuan nationality were looking at Shenyuan Xiong. Their hearts were filled with anxiety, as if they were standing on the edge of a cliff, in a battle of life or death. At this moment, Long Fei laughed blandly. "You came to propose on behalf of Zhon Wushuang, and I am also here to propose. How about we use the most traditional method to settle this problem?" The battle letter looked at Xiong Longfei and asked, "What's the most traditional way?" Long Fei said, "It's very simple, let's compete in martial art." Shenyuan Xiong was already on the tiger's back, unable to get down. He couldn't make a decision. The war letter was stunned for a moment before it sneered. The four Zhon's elder S beside him immediately laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha. Compete with us? Kid, who do you think you are? Are you worthy? Are you worthy of fighting with our young lord? What qualifications do you have? Long Fei, you are just a dying ant. You think you can fight with our young master?" The four elders laughed loudly. Li Yuanba and the 8 King Kong were both displeased. They wanted to rush up and attack, but were stopped by Long Fei. Long Fei said with a slight smile, "I'm just asking you, do you dare?" His gaze stared at the war letter. Fighting spirit ignited. Shenyuan Xiong's heart tensed up. He sent a sound transmission to Long Fei, and said, "Long Fei, you are not their opponent, don't be rash." Zhon Xin's cultivation was unfathomable. Chaos Realm had never lost before, his cultivation was also above Chaos Realm, so no one could beat him this kind of superpowerhouse. Martial arts competition? How unwise. Shenyuan Lai and the others started to get excited. This brat is really stupid, he actually competed with the Zhon clan's people, but this is better, if that's the case, Shenyuan Xiong has no choice, ha ha ha. Brat, you really are a pig. The battle letter looked at Long Fei and said, you want to compete with us? Long Fei said, if you say it's satisfying, do you dare? The war letter wanted to laugh, but no one had ever dared to challenge him. He said lightly, looks like I haven't come out for all these years. Someone has already forgotten who I am. Kid. I agree to your request. Tell me, how do you want to compete? Long Fei said, very simple, 3 rounds 2 wins, 3 representatives from each faction, of course. You can also fight. Battle channel, sure. And if you lose? Long Fei said, I'll make way for you, I won't ask Uncle Shenyuan for marriage. Zhonxin sneered and said, is that all? Long Fei asked, then what else do you want? Battle channel, your life. Li Yuanbar immediately shouted out, old man, try saying it again. He was just as fearless as he was fearless. Li Yuanbar did not know what to respect about this old man. As long as there was hostility towards Long Fei, he would be unhappy, no matter if it was a god or a ghost. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, sure, but what if you lose? The letter was stunned as it said, I lost. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. A few Zhon's elders laughed again. The letter smiled and said, if I lose, how will you deal with it? Is that okay with you? Lose? He had never lost in his life. It was even more impossible now. Long Fei said, since you say so, then you should kowtow 3 times in apology to Uncle Shenyuan. Kid. Little bastard. One more word. Zhon's elder was instantly angered, her eyes were burning with rage, and she was extremely aggressive. Long Fei laughed. He said it himself, so it's convenient for me to punish him, is that not okay? If that doesn't work, then let's change it so that I can slap you 3 times. A few Zhon's elders were about to get angry again. However, the battle letter stopped them, and looked at Long Fei coldly as he said, Long Fei, you will die a miserable death. Chapter 1591 Arrangements. Chapter 1591 Arrangements. Long Fei, are you crazy? Shenyuan Xiong's room. Preparations before the match. Shenyuan Xiong did not understand why Long Fei wanted to compete in martial arts. Long Fei looked at Shenyuan Xiong and said, Uncle, it's all right, I will win. Win? With what? Not to mention that the battle letter is a divine level powerhouse, just the 4 Zhon's elders that he brought with him are already extremely formidable. Their strength is all above mine, how can you all win? Shenyuan Xiong said anxiously. He had experienced the divine suppression from the battle letter just now. It was truly too powerful, so powerful that he was simply unable to defend against it. In front of him, he was as weak as an ant. He really wasn't a match for her. Shenyuan Xiong slightly said, Long Fei, I know that you are doing this for my own good, but this method of yours is simply courting death. No way. I can't let you die. Shenyuan Xiong's gaze tightened, and said, follow me, I still have a secret room here, I'll take you out. Not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei said, Uncle, if we leave, what will you do? What about Leah? What are you going to do? Have you thought about this? If I can hide for a while, I can't hide for a lifetime. Hellgate was exterminated, but Zhon clan's strength did not suffer any blow, he was still incredibly strong. He escaped this time, but what about next time? Moreover, Shenyuan Li's situation was too dangerous. Long Fei had to save her, and the best way to save her was to annihilate the Zhon clan. That way, Zhon Wushuang would definitely come out of the tower question of God and kill her afterward. Shenyuan Xiong was speechless for a moment. Long Fei said solemnly, don't worry, since I proposed this, then I will definitely have a chance of winning. He could only comfort Shenyuan Xiong like this. As for the odds of victory, Long Fei had no confidence at all, just like what Shenyuan Xiong had said, Zhonxin's cultivation was too strong, he had never faced this kind of powerhouse who could condense a divine spark. This was the true divine-level powerhouse. Shenyuan Xiong heaved a sigh of relief and clenched his fists. Yuan Ba. Your first battle. Oya, your second battle. Long Fei said. As for the third match. Li Yuanba laughed foolishly. Boss, there's no third battle, we'll send them back to their maternal grandma's house in the first two battles. Oya confidently said, I agree with that. Long Fei said, this is for the best, but you all must remember one thing, if your opponents do not immediately admit defeat, you must not fight to the death, understand? Long Fei didn't want anything to happen to them. Li Yuanba carried the giant spirit axe on his shoulder and laughed. Boss, don't worry. And then, Long Fei said, if there is a third battle, Tianling, you are the candidate. Huh. Everyone in the room was slightly shocked. They were all looking at Long Fei, not understanding his arrangements. The sky spirit responded with an excited laugh. Understood, boss. Shenyuan Xiong looked at Long Fei and said, aren't you going to fight the third battle yourself? Long Fei said, I need to go out for a bit. When I'm not here, Ahut, you will take command. Remember to be calm and not panic. Where to? Oya asked worriedly. Long Fei smiled and said, it's not too far away, right inside this Shenyuan prefecture. Tianling said, boss, don't worry. I'll definitely get rid of all of them. If there was a third battle. When the battle letter saw that Long Fei did not appear, he would definitely not appear, because he was extremely arrogant. They were disdainful of fighting with the 8 King Kong. Thus, Long Fei did not arrive. He was not worried about the matter of the Sky Spirit Guild fighting letter. From the moment the battle letter appeared, Long Fei had been extremely excited, because the battle letter was a big boss. It was even stronger than the golden light emitted by the Zhon clan Grand Elders. There was no doubt that it was a super big boss, it would definitely explode with power. Now that the boss had appeared, would not be the one to kill it. However, with his current strength, he had to learn that move. Long Fei looked at Shenyuan Xiong in the blink of an eye and said, Uncle, don't you have a secret passage here? Bring me there. Not long after. Long Fei then walked out of the courtyard through the secret passage. He did not go to another place, but chose to walk into the Line Canyon. And the power of the shooting stars slicing through the sky. He was still a little bit off. Standing at the edge of heaven, looking at a thin crack, Long Fei exhaled slightly and said, Fire Unicorn, can you bring me up there? He continued to observe from below. He could only feel the domineering aura of that sword energy. If he were to observe and comprehend it in the sky, what kind of concept would that be? Boom. The Fire Unicorn rushed out and said, Boss, come at me. Long Fei got up and sat on it. Boom. The Fire Unicorn transformed into a beam of fire and shot into the sky. As he flew through the air, the strong airflow caused him to lose his balance, as if he was on the verge of collapsing. It spun continuously in the air currents. After the Fire Unicorn fused with the sacred blood, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Right now, his cultivation could probably be considered to be at the peak of the divine beast, but facing against a thread of air, he was unable to resist. It was hard to imagine how powerful this energy flow was. He tried a few times, but the air currents were like a barrier that couldn't be broken through. The Fire Unicorn was also burning with anger. I don't believe it. He rushed into the stream of air once again. Long Fei observed with confidence, even if it was created by the sword chi, where did it come from? Could it be? After a few million years, the sword aura is still here? Damn. Isn't that too terrifying? If it was an ordinary gust of air, it wouldn't be able to stop the Fire Unicorn. Was there some kind of secret hidden in this stream of air? Or could it be? The true meaning of the Sky Shatter Sword was hidden inside. At this moment. In the yard. 8 King Kong walked out. Shenyuan Lai was the first to notice it, and immediately asked, Where is that brat Long Fei? The battle letter's gaze turned grim as well. Li Yuanba said as he drank, Our boss will be here shortly. Shenyuan Lai looked at the battle letter and said, Master, I will bring my men to look for him. Zhonxin laughed coldly and said, Long Fei, You escaped before the fight even began, ha ha ha. What did I think you were doing? So he's just a coward. Li Yuanba immediately shouted out, try saying it again. He raised his sleeves. The muscles on his body bulged. Strands of energy that could be seen with the naked eye were released out one after another. It was extremely brutal. The battle letter glanced at him coldly, not putting Li Yuanba in its eyes at all, because it despised him. He was a super powerhouse who was famous hundreds of years ago, and he completely disregarded the kind of little friend like Li Yuanba. The war letter said coldly, don't waste my time. Let's begin. Chapter 1592 Li Yuanba's Instant Kill. Chapter 1592 Li Yuanba's Instant Kill. As soon as he finished, Li Yuanba took a step forward and laughed simple-mindedly. My huge axe has been hungry for a long time. Which one of you is coming? The giant axe on Li Yuanba's shoulder fell. Holding it in his hand, he pointed at the battle letter. His aura was quite domineering. He wouldn't care about all that, and he was never afraid of anything. It was as if the word fear did not exist in his mind. From the day he followed Long Fei, he had never known what fear was. At this time, a Zhon's elder walked out, thin and lean, like a mouse, forming a strong contrast with Li Yuanba. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly as he smiled sinisterly. I'll do it. Li Yuanba looked at him and said, let's begin. Swish, 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 swish. The crowd retreated, and they quickly opened up a path. The lean elder stared blankly for a moment before suddenly disappearing. Invisibility? That's not right. Even his aura and footsteps had completely disappeared. It was as if he had completely vanished into thin air. This cultivation technique was definitely extraordinary. Li Yuanba stood where he was, unmoving. No matter if you were disappearing, or even disappearing into the void, you only had one goal in doing all this. Sneak attack. As long as he seized that moment to strike with his axe, he would be killed instantly. Boom. With a dull thud, his blade struck out. Shua. A long wound immediately appeared on Li Yuanba's shoulder as blood madly gushed out. He didn't have time to react. When he reacted, the skinny man disappeared again. Ha ha ha. Didn't you say that you were shouting pretty loudly just now? Now you don't even have the chance to backstab me. He's quite big, but he's also trash. Many people started to mock him. At this moment, Shua. With another stab, Li Yuanba still could not react. It was too fast. However, he became even more serious. The strength stripes on his body released one after another, forming a unique domain. A cold laugh rang out in the air as he said, I'm going to slowly play you to death, ha ha ha. The entire sky was filled with cold laughter. A few Zhon clan elders also laughed. He really is going to be slowly played to death. Play crash. What a bloody slaughter, whoosh whoosh, asterisk. While he was speaking, another few slashes came out. There were in front and on the side. Li Yuanba's reaction speed was slower by half a beat, but compared to before, his speed was a little faster. However, it was still unable to compare to the lean man's speed. If you were unable to grasp his movement trajectory, you would be unable to do anything to him. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk. After a few minutes, other than the place where he carried the coffin, Li Yuanba was not hurt. Moreover, from start to finish, Li Yuanba did not make a move. No backhand. The other King Kong couldn't help but worry. Ahat asked, Yuan Ba, can you still? Without waiting for him to ask, Li Yuanba replied, no problem. If he's like this, he'll just be a target. His speed won't be able to keep up at all. What should we do? If this goes on, I'll definitely be killed by one blade after another. Lin Yusheng said worriedly. Li Yuanba was very strong, they all knew that. However, speed was his weakness. It was as if the skinny man had seen through his weakness and completely toyed with it. There was nothing you could do about it. If it was them, there was nothing they could do. They couldn't compete with the lean man in terms of speed. Aoya looked at the blood dripping from Li Yuanba's body, and said, should we give up? Zhonxin coldly smiled and said, "Give up. The duel didn't seem to give up, right? This battle will not end until one side dies, ha ha ha." A sinister laughter rang out in the air as well. "Don't worry. He'll be free in no time. Ha ha ha." Seven King Kong's face darkened. Shenyuan Xiong's face also became very ugly. However, the disciples of the Shenyuan nationality were all wearing excited smiles. Li Yuanba losing meant that they had an extra layer of protection. The Zhon clan would not touch them. "Kill him! Kill him! Kill him!" the disciples of the Shenyuan nationality shouted. The skinny man's cold voice sounded again, and he said coldly, "Everyone says that your 8 King Kong is special, and the power that each person cultivates is different. And as the head of the 8 King Kong, I just want to say, what's the use of pure power? You're just a piece of trash." As soon as he finished, a blade came slashing down. The target of this strike was Li Yuanba's throat. He wanted a single slash. Li Yuanba was still standing there foolishly and innocently, not moving at all. It was as if he couldn't catch the movements of the skinny man like before. However, at this moment, with him at the center, a unique domain of power had already slowly emerged. The strength stripes turned with him, in this narrow domain. He is the king. The moment the skinny man's blade appeared, Li Yuanba's eyes suddenly opened wide in anger, as though he was angry Buddha. His eyes flashed with a sharp light. At the same time the giant spirit coffin on his back trembled, and dropped. Clang! The golden corpse rushed out, and instantly merged into Li Yuanba's body. He made a grasping motion with his right hand. Shua! As if he had pierced the air, Li Yuanba let out a furious roar, and said heavily, "Die for me." Rumble! The void split apart. The powerful force crushed everything in its path. A figure was pulled out from the void by him. It was the lean man. Buzz! The moment the energy exploded from the Titan god, Li Yuanba's right arm immediately turned golden, erupting with extremely dense energy, a pure physical energy. His innate divine strength was fully displayed at this moment. He grabbed the skinny man and violently smashed him onto the ground. Rumble! Rumble! The ground became caved in and cracked, causing the entire Shenyuan prefecture to tremble. Phut! The skinny man spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale and his internal organs were all corroded by the shock. Just like that. This power was simply... he couldn't bear it. Why? Why? The skinny man shouted in his heart, and then his eyes turned vicious. He shouted, "I want to kill you." Before he could finish, his eyes suddenly darkened. Where is he? Li Yuanba's figure disappeared. Just like how he had disappeared before, only this time he could not see Li Yuanba's movements clearly, and was completely unable to keep up with his movements. 3 heads, 6 arms. Giant spirit god slash. Li Yuanba dropped from the sky. A 3-headed, 6-armed body. Moreover, his entire body was golden, extremely domineering. The sword chopped down. The lean man's body split into pieces. Instant kill. Chapter 1593 Evil. Chapter 1593 Evil. A powerful blast. One move was enough. Zhon's elder's body flew out in pieces. The scene was bloody and tragic, even worse than 5 horses dismembering. Li Yuanba's 3 heads and 6 arms, tall and sturdy body. Golden water poured out of his skin. The domineering aura of giant spirit access. It could be said that he was extremely handsome, overbearing and matchless. The entire audience was in shock. They were all shocked speechless by Li Yuanba. Zhon's elder was killed just like that. Isn't this way too unthinkable? He couldn't react at all. This, how is this possible? Illusion? Aren't you always crushing him? Why did it suddenly become like this? Too fast. One grab, one slash, it was over in an instant. It was so fast that no one could react. The eyes of the 3 clan elders darkened, flames spouted out of their eyes, releasing a strong killing intent. They stared straight at Li Yuanba. Li Yuanba laughed innocently, and said domineeringly, "You don't accept it. If you don't like it, You can come again. Arrogant to the point of being a complete mess. Li Yuanba had this kind of personality. I am not afraid of the heavens, not afraid of the earth. No matter what cultivation you have, I will not be afraid. Let alone a divine-level powerhouse, even if a sovereign stood in front of him, he would still act so arrogantly and arrogantly. You're courting death. One of the Zhon's elders was enraged and instantly wanted to rush out. However, he was stopped by the letter. He smiled coldly and said, "Don't be in such a hurry." Shenyuan Xiong faintly said, "In our first battle, Li Yuanba won." Li Yuanba stood in his original position and was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he stared at the Zhon's elder and said, "Who's in a bad mood? This is too presumptuous." The other elder could no longer bear to listen. Zhon Xin sniggered disdainfully as he replied, "Let's play another round then." How boring. Li Yuanba regained his real face look, and the golden corpse instantly left his body and entered the god coffin. He carried the giant spirit axe on his shoulder and walked back with big steps. "Big guy, you're awesome. Ha ha ha. Too fierce. The head of Vajra is indeed extraordinary. Ha ha ha." The 7 King Kongs laughed. Li Yuanba also innocently smiled, excited. Arhat walked to Li Yuanba's side and took out a few healing pills, saying, "Quickly take them, don't force yourself." Even if the defense of one's body was strengthened by dozens of cuts, blood was something that ordinary people would not be able to withstand. Li Yuanba persisted on as he completely released his power domain. In this domain, he was like a hidden cheetah, waiting for an opportunity. If the lean man was a little more calm, Li Yuanba would not have been a match for him. Li Yuanba scratched his head, took the pill and swallowed it. "Sister-in-law, you have to be careful next. These people have extraordinary powers." Li Yuanba was worried. Chen Tianfei walked forward and said, "Elder sister-in-law, how about you allow me to fight? My skin is thick and my resistance is strong." Aoya's identity was special. She was Sword Force King Kong of the 8 King Kong, but she was also Long Fei's woman. Their sister-in-law. Aoya faintly smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will win this fight." And then, Oya walked up. At this moment, an elder of the Zhon clan walked out. The moment he stepped into the arena, his overwhelming aura attacked Aoya. "Let the duel begin." Buzz. With that, the Zhon's elder's chi changed again as he released his divine-level power. A bright light shone from his entire body, and with a flip of his right hand, a sword flew towards Aoya. Combined with that powerful aura, it completely crushed Oya. "This is bad." Shenyuan Xiong frowned, with the god-level suppression coupled with Zhon clan's unique sword technique. This time, the foreheads of the King Kong and his men tightened up. Pressure crushed the body, sword technique pierced through, coordinating perfectly with a one-hit kill. Aoya's body trembled slightly. Buzz buzz buzz. Sword spirits started to sound in the air, forming a powerful sword spirit array. The moment Zhon's elder made his move, all the sword spirits also started to move. Buzz buzz buzz. Ear-piercing sword hums rang out one after another. Zhon's elder's face changed. "Sword spirit array? It seems like you've been to the Cloud Palace. However, do you know who destroyed the Cloud Palace?" "By me." The Zhon's elder sneered. He was the one who annihilated the sword sect remains that Aoya cultivated. One person killed. Thus, he was very familiar with this kind of sword-spirit sword formation. He had known about it since the moment Oya had released it. Aoya's expression changed slightly. She gripped the long sword in her hand tightly. With a fierce killing intent in her eyes, she had stayed in the Cloud Palace. She had received the sword-spirit sword formation's true inheritance. Since it was the destruction of the Zhon clan, they definitely could not let him go. Shua. The sword spirit array suddenly changed. In the blink of an eye, Aoya thought of the sword techniques that Long Fei had taught her in her mind. Whoosh, whoosh. His body was like an ethereal shadow, constantly appearing in the void, swaying left and right, unable to see clearly what was real and what was a prosthesis, and at this moment, the over 100 sword spirits under Aoya's control simultaneously began to blur. It was just like how 100 people instantly surrounded Zhon's elder to kill him. What a sharp sword technique. Shenyuan Xiong was secretly shocked. He had never seen the sword techniques that Aoya had displayed. It was also the first time he saw someone who could control over 100 sword spirits. The sword force King Kong was different. Aoya's understanding of the sword had reached an extremely high level. Even the Shenyuan nationality that used the sword family had to admire him. Sister-in-law has improved so much. What a powerful sword art. 8 King Kong could not help but be shocked as well. It's rare for a sword spirit to have fused with a real face to this extent, but it's completely useless. In my eyes, it's child's play. He flicked his index finger. Buzz. The sword flashed with a golden light, forming a sword of air. Shua. It passed through. In that instant, Aoya's body sank. Her chest was pierced by a force. Fresh blood spurted out from her body. Her body was also sent flying backwards and she spurted out a mouthful of blood. It was also at this time. The Battle Clan powerhouse continued to attack. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk sword intent came crushing down from all directions. Boom, boom, boom. Eldest sister-in-law. Li Yuanba roared out, fatty. Chen Tianfei had already rushed out, a layer of shadow as thick as a steel armor superimposed on his body, and directly rushed forward to block all of the energy. Rumble, rumble, rumble. It was surging crazily. Chen Tianfei's divine armor and steel armor were also constantly cracking, but Chen Tianfei was firmly blocking all the damage. Phut! Chen Tianfei also spat out a mouthful of blood. His body also flew out. Bang, bang. Aoya was also sent flying dozens of meters away. Her face was extremely pale. The Zhon's elder flew into the air and floated above Aoya's head, revealing a sinister smile. Chapter 1594, Battle Letter. Chapter 1594, Battle Letter Die. Zhon's elder shouted in anger. The cold sword in his hand moved, stabbing towards the center of Aoya's brows. An incomparably sharp sword. As long as it hit, Oya would definitely die. At this time, Li Yuanba and the rest were all over a dozen meters away, and it seemed like they were only this far away. They could arrive there in a breath's time, but this was also the distance. The Zhon's elder was even closer to them than they were. Ah! With an explosion, a black light flashed from Chen Tianfei's body, which covered the sky. Buzz! With one step, he stood in front of Aoya and stared at the Zhon's elder as he shouted, "Come!" The Zhon's elder's eyes turned cold and he sneered, "You overconfident thing, die!" His body sank. His speed was even faster, and the sword burned with a golden light as he heavily stabbed downwards. Buzz! The instant it pierced Chen Tianfei's forehead, the black light on his body pounced towards Zhon's elder like wasps, and trapped him in an instant. Buzz buzz buzz. An incomparably ear-piercing sound rang. Zhon's elder let out a roar from the black light, golden light spilling out in all directions. Just when it was about to explode. Buzz. It was like a fart that suddenly disappeared. At the same time, the Zhon clan elder was sent flying several dozen meters away. His face was pale and all the energy in his body had been sucked dry. Rumble. The black light withdrew and a bit of blood appeared on the center of Chen Tianfei's brows. He stared fixedly into the distance and said, "Come again, 2 against 1? Humph. Then it's my turn." An elder of the Zhon clan suddenly flew out. It was also at this moment. The sky spirit moved, blocking his path and bellowed, "Your opponent is me." The aura of death of Mitien rushed out from all directions. Moreover, the celestial spirit condensed out streams of power of the double yang. Its body did not seem big, but there was a mountain-like shadow superimposed on it. Boom! The two forces collided, and the both of them were repelled at the same time. Everyone was shocked. The war letter's eyes turned sinister as it said coldly, "Shenyuan Xiong, how do we calculate the second round?" Shenyuan Xiong took a glance at Aoya, then looked at Chen Tianfei, gritted his teeth, and said, "Battle letter, it's you who ambushed me first." "Huh!" The letter slightly raised its eyes. Li Yuanba shouted, "Old man, do you think we're blind? If you can't win, just sneak attack. 9 secret warrior family? I think it's just a shitty war house." The battle letter's expression changed. One of the elders immediately shouted, "Little bastard, one more word if you have the gut." Li Yuanba laughed coldly. "Just say it, am I afraid of you? What a shitty battle house. F***CKU. Come bite me if you dare." It was useless to threaten Li Yuanba at all. Zhonxin's gaze was gloomy as he asked once more, "Tell me the result." Shenyuan Xiong said, "You cheated first, so this round should be." Just as Shenyuan Xiong was about to announce Aoya's victory, several elders from the Shenyuan nationality spoke up at the same time. "Exactly. Shenyuan Xiong, aren't you too biased towards outsiders?" Many elders of the Shenyuan nationality started to clamor. If the Zhon clan was angered, the consequences would be unimaginable. They all hoped that Zhon clan would win. "In my opinion, this should be the victory of Zhon's elder." "You're right," Shenyuan Xiong said, "he cheated first." "Cheating? Why didn't we see it?" "Shenyuan Xiong, even if you don't think for your own daughter, you should at least think for the Shenyuan nationality, right?" An elder said angrily. They were afraid that the Zhon clan would kill them all. At this time, it was impossible to dismount from the tiger. The argument was going on and on. It was also at this moment that Aoya stood up from the ground and said, "A draw." The audience fell silent. The war letter faintly smiled, "Sure." The black knife took a step forward and said, "How can it be considered a draw? It's obvious that they were the ones who cheated first, and Aoya and Chen Tianfei looked fine, but in reality, they were injured. It was a very serious injury." Aoya shook her head and said, "Don't make things difficult for Uncle Xian." Only then did the black knife stop talking. 8 King Kong was very unhappy as he held his breath. At this moment, the letter smiled and said, "Let the third match begin." At this time, the sky spirit walked up and said, "I'll fight 3 times. The letter coldly looked at the heavenly spirit and said, "Ghost spirit race, inhuman, non-ghost, non-demon, non-demon, you are really special, no. To be exact, your 8 King Kong is very special, rising step by step from a low plane. The 8 different powers in your body are constantly awakening." Zhonxin looked at Li Yuanba and said, "Your pure strength has actually been cultivated by you into a strength domain. Your sword intent, real face and sword spirit's fusion is perfect without the slightest bit of hesitation. And you all. It's really special. I'll give you all a choice. From now on, follow me. I guarantee that no one in this world will dare to touch you." The battle letter looked at 8 King Kong. Ever since Li Yuanba had unleashed his power domain, he had been wanting to take them into his Zhon clan. Li Yuanba laughed disdainfully. "You? Are you qualified? Are you worthy?" 8 King Kong all had a disdainful sneer on their faces as they looked at the battle letter. Their loyalty to Long Fei was not something that could be shaken by anything. Zhonxin coldly smiled as he said, "If I can't get the things I want, I'll personally destroy him. Bring it on. The third battle, let me do it." As soon as he finished, the entire audience was stunned. The look in the heavenly spirit's eyes tightened up. This was slightly different from Long Fei's expectations, but the heaven spirit was not afraid. Instead, the aura around its body grew even stronger as it said, "Then let's begin." He took a step forward. Suddenly, Zhonxin's body moved. "Get down." Boom. A thunder-like divine might surged out, directly crushing the deathly flames of the heavenly spirit into smithereens in the blink of an eye. At this moment, a palm was thrown out. The sky spirit did not react immediately. Instead, its body flew out and broke through the walls of the yard. Layer after layer, it flew out thousands of meters. Rumble. A loud sound was heard from the waist of the mountain. The spirits were buried in the rubble. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. "You don't know your place. Too powerful." They were not on the same level at all. Zhonxin looked at Li Yuanba and the rest coldly and said, "Am I the victor in this round?" "It's a draw. Now it's the time for the competition. How about all of you come at once? He wanted to destroy the 8 King Kong at the same time. In another place, Long Fei followed the flow of the air current, and suddenly, his eyes snapped open, as he shouted excitedly, "I understand." At the same time, the system beeped out a notification. Ding. Chapter 1595 8 King Kong crippled. Chapter 1595 8 King Kong crippled at the martial arts arena. The letters of war crushed everything in their path, and the divine aura emanating from his body spread out. All of you, attack together. Don't worry, as long as you can defeat me, I will leave immediately. The war letter sneered coldly. Since he couldn't get what he wanted, he would personally destroy it. He had given the 8 King Kong a chance before, but they didn't know how to cherish it. At the same time, he could also tell that the 8 King Kong was very loyal to Long Fei. "I'll do it." Li Yuanba roared out, the anger in his heart surging. The fate of a celestial spirit was unknown. Aoya, Chen Tianfei was heavily injured. The current 8 King Kong was no longer able to use the power of the heavenly tribulation. Boom. Li Yuanba's body shook, a powerful golden light flashed out, and the giant spirit axe in his hand buzzed as it exploded. He took a step forward. They flew into the air. Boom. His body suddenly transformed into 3 heads and 6 arms, and an intense aura of strength emanated from him. Landing before the war letter, he exerted all of his strength into it. Zhonxin laughed coldly. "King Kong, holy King Kong? I only have strength." Before his voice had even faded, Zhonxin had already advanced. He released a stream of sword qi from his finger and sneered, "Break for me." Whoosh. The sword qi was like a rainbow. It directly penetrated through Li Yuanba's abdomen. The power of Li Yuanba's body instantly dissipated, and even the state of his 3 heads and 6 arms disappeared. A mouthful of blood sprayed out. The entire body fell from the sky. One move of slay. His divine power dissipated. Li Yuanba's strength could not resist it at all. This move was too fatal. Bam! The pain was indescribable. Even, who had never cried out in pain before, could not help but let out a low scream as his body trembled. His strength. It was disappearing. Li Yuanba wanted to grab onto it with all his might, but the more he grabbed onto it, the faster the energy in his body drained like quicksand. Strength. My strength. My strength. This was the first time Li Yuanba felt flustered. He had never used it before, not even in the face of death. He thought that would become a burden just because his strength was lost. He could not continue walking with Long Fei, so if that was the case, he might as well die. Yuan Ba. Ahut hurriedly fed Li Yuanba a few healing pills, but it was completely useless as the energy in his body continued to rapidly drain away. The war letter laughed contemptuously. "From then on, there will no longer be any power in your body. You will forever become a useless piece of trash, ha ha ha." Ah! Lin Yusheng suddenly roared, "I'll do it." Boom! Between heaven and earth, the water particles in the air rapidly condensed. The moment he rushed out, his body was already surrounded by water. The messenger raised his eyes and asked, "God, water King Kong? 8 King Kong is really interesting. Since you're water, I'll let you know what the power of fire is." Zhonxin disdainfully sneered as his aura suddenly turned into a fiery red blaze. Lin Yusheng roared in his heart, "Heavenly water art." Boom, boom, boom. The huge waves in the sky surged over like mountains and seas. From every direction. The entire Shenyuan prefecture seemed to have turned into a sea. Many Shenyuan tribesmen's expression changed slightly. The battle letter was floating in midair and the aura on his body was ignited. The moment Lin Yusheng's huge wave crashed down, his eyes moved slightly. Break. Tian Wu, flame serpent. Rumble. An incomparably savage fire serpent charged out, sweeping through the void. At this moment, the fire snake moved suddenly, and drilled into Lin Yusheng's body. It passed through his body. In the same position as the pubes in his abdomen, at that moment, Lin Yusheng's eyeballs were almost going to pop out of their sockets. Ah! His entire body fell from the sky. His entire body trembled, his face paled, and the pain in his abdomen became incomparably intense, as if the pubes could not feel it at all. Furthermore, his strength was also frantically flowing away like Li Yuanba's, unable to withstand it at all. My strength. My power. Zhonxin sneered, God's Water King Kong has become trash too, ha ha ha. Ah. The black knife was enraged and slashed with a huge wild blade. Black knife, be careful. Arrogant knife King Kong. Zhonxin raised the space between his eyebrows and watched as an incomparably massive black saber came crashing down from the void. It was as if this saber had descended from the heavens. It was eerie and terrifying. Zhonxin waved his right hand and a large saber appeared in it as well. With a slight movement of his aura, divine power surged out and he slashed out at the same time. Hualala. The two blades collided. The black knife was broken. Under the control of the battle letter, the golden-colored blade energy let out a roar, and in an instant, it pierced through the black knife's abdomen. With a twist. Phut. The black knife spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body flew out. The pubes in his abdomen shattered. It was incomparably painful. Ah! Oya was severely injured, Fat Men Chen was severely injured, Li Yuanba's pubes was crippled, Lin Yosheng's pubes was crippled, and now, the black knife was also destroyed. Only Ahat and Dragon Subduing were left. At this moment, the two of them rushed up at the same time. They had already lost all sense of reason. When their heavenly spirit skill was sent flying, they lost all sense of reason. As they watched their brothers fall one by one, it was as if they lost all control over them. There was only one thing on his mind: to kill the war letter, to take revenge. Boom, boom. The Ahat's malevolent aura was released, the golden light from the descending dragon flashed, and it rushed towards Zhonxin at the same time. Zhonxin said with a cold smile, Ahat King Kong, Vaja Subduing Dragon, heh. All of you, get on the ground. With that, Zhonxin's eyes turned malevolent. Wang. A surge of divine power was released from his body, forming a powerful pressure that instantly blocked the attacks of the two of them. Shua. The battle letter landed in front of the Ahat, and laughed sinisterly, 8 King Kong? Now that you're giving me face and not taking it back, all of you are nothing but trash now, ha ha ha. Boo. Boom. His palm struck out, blasting on the Ahat's abdomen. The palm power raged and pierced through his body. Ahat felt as if his soul was about to be beaten out of his body. His eyes were ferocious and his eyeballs were about to pop out. He was in incomparable pain, and his entire body also flew down from the sky. The letter turned and landed right in front of him, another palm struck out. Bam! It was the same for Descending Dragon. The pubes had split open, making it extremely uncomfortable. Zhonxin's gaze swept across them as he looked at the 7 King Kongs on the ground like a king. He sneered and said, a bunch of useless trash. Boom, boom. Following the bombardment of the two powers, Aoya's abdomen split open and Chen Tianfei's abdomen split apart. The pubes in the rubble were also blasted apart by him. 8 King Kong. Crippled. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.